The Board of Trustees of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District is called to order at 6:30 p.m. This is the regular monthly board meeting being held on March 21st, 2023. We have a quorum with all members present. Please join me in a moment of silence to observe as you feel appropriate. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the Texas flag led by Wertheimer Middle School 6th grader Kimberly Crawford and Jackson Elementary School 5th grader Manuel Alderetti.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Round of applause for Manuel. Thank you. All right, Dr. Nivens, are there any recognitions or awards?
Yes, sir. We have quite a few recognitions and awards. I'll turn over to Ms. Cole Hamilton.
Thank you. Good evening. I want to first start by, as the trustees make their way down, good evening to our parents and guests. We are going to recognize several outstanding students this evening, and in order to ensure an efficient recognition experience, we do ask parents that you refrain from coming forward to take photos. Our amazing district photographer, Mr. Justin Terry, is taking the official photos this evening, and his photos will be published to the district website on the board's page later this week. In addition, we do have a QR code that will give you quick access to the photos. So to kick things off, we're going to start off with the Foster Yearbook team. The 2021-22 Talent Yearbook staff was recently awarded the prestigious CSPA Silver Crown Award. The Crown Awards are the highest recognition given by the Columbia Scholastic Press Association to a student, print or digital medium for overall excellence, and is one of the very few awards at the national level that a yearbook could earn. A yearbook receives either a gold or a silver crown at the spring convention held at the campus of Columbia University in New York, and this year, Foster High School staff received a silver crown. This is the first ever national award for any Lamar CISD journalism program, and Foster High School was the only high school program in the entire Houston area to win a crown this year. The yearbook staff is advised by Ms. Danielle Bell with the assistance of Ms. Chelsea Donahue, and includes co-editors-in-chief Claire Frazier and Isabel Baba, editors Jaden Hubble and Maya Lindemann. Staffers are Sasha Golovine, Whitney Smith, Megan Carroll, Kanita Medani, Catherine Broussard, Alondra Garza, Abija Oyeoku, Angela Britt, and Onijite Okiti, and Hania Sanchez. Staff, y'all come on up for your group photo. And of course, the principal, Jerry Kipping. Congratulations, students. If you are the parents of any of our yearbook staff members, would you please stand this time so we may recognize you with applause? Thank you. All right, moving on with our recognitions. Tonight we have the honor of recognizing a two-time state champion, Miss Madison Canales. She's a repeat champion from Foster High School. Maddie has an overall record of 102 wins and 1 loss for Foster Wrestling. And this year, she completed her season undefeated with 46-0. Maddie claimed the gold medal in the 126-pound weight class and plans to defend her title next year when she goes for a three-peat. The Foster Wrestling program is under the direction of Scott Kimball. Everybody give it up for Madison Canales. Now we will recognize state medalists in Foster swimming. These young men claimed the regional championship on the way to the UIL state swim meet. At state, they claimed the bronze medal in the 200-meter freestyle relay. The Falcon relay team was made up of Tanner McKay, Kay Dory, Ken Den Herter, and Cooper Schwank. Foster swimming is under the direction of assistant coach Tess Gwynn and head coach Cassie Parker. Let's give a round of applause to the Foster swim team. Congratulations. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined this evening by one of the best girls basketball teams in the state. The Fulshire Lady Chargers claimed their first district championship and did so in an undefeated fashion, going 14-0 during district play. The Chargers raced through the playoffs and claimed the Region 3 title with 2 nail-biting wins to punch their ticket to state. The Chargers finished their season at 33-6 with a bronze medal around their necks. Special congratulations to the District 25A Most Valuable Player, Essay Ogabiver. And Essay was a member of the Region 3 All-Region team, and on the All-State Academic Squad, the Chargers were led by Coach Tashana Brown and assistant coaches Ashley Bachman and Gerald Garcia. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you your Fulshire Chargers.
Kneel down, forward, kneel down.
That's level.
Don't be jealous, don't be jealous.
Up the side. Okay.
Oh, he didn't have to, I'm sorry.
Now you guys come like this. You lean forward a bit down? Yeah, that's cool. Oh, I don't know, you can't over. Just jog over.
Just see their shirt.
Alright, here we go, we got you.
Wonderful. This evening, we recognize some amazing student athletes, and if you're the parent of any of our student athletes, wrestling, swimming, basketball, would you please stand at this time? If I could have Miss Lindsay Troutman join me at the podium. Out of approximately 7,250 finalists nationwide, Foster High School students Andrew Coons, Corrine Wang, and Benjamin Wu have advanced to finalist status in the National Merit Scholarship Program. All winners of the Merit Scholarship Awards are chosen based on their abilities, skills, and accomplishments, and these scholars made the cut by demonstrating a thorough, distinguished performance and high potential for future academic accomplishments. Up first, we're going to recognize Mr. Andrew Coons. Andrew has served as the president of DECA for the last 3 years. He's also a member of the National Honor Society. During high school, he played football, baseball, and golf. He also recently won second place for the Scholar Athlete Award from the Touchdown Club of Houston, and he plans to pursue a degree in business and is committed to attend Texas A&M University. Next up, we've got Miss Corinne Wang. Wang serves as the first lieutenant on the dance team, the Foster Flares. Dance has always been a big part of her life. Wang transferred to Lamar CISD during the pandemic and used dance to help her cope with changing her academic and social settings. Since transferring to a new state and a new school, she's overcome many obstacles with grace and grit, demonstrating her determination and ability to adapt. Congratulations, Corinne. And last but not least is Mr. Benjamin Wu. Wu is currently a section leader and a 4-year member of the Foster Drumline. He leads the Code Wars and Java UIL computer science teams, in addition to being a member of the National Honor Society and Workforce in Training. Wu earned his service cord with over 126 volunteer hours, including Gulf Coast beach cleanups, lunches of love, and VBS at Faith at UMC. He's an AP Scholar with distinction, College Board Rural and Small Town Scholar, Lamar CISD PSAT Scholar, PAP Computer Science Student of the Year, 21-22 Best Percussionist. He's a 4-time All-Region Band Orchestra and 2-time All-State Solo and Ensemble Musician, and Wu plans to study computer science in college. Congratulations, Mr. Wu. If you are the parents of any of our National Merit Scholars, would you please stand up at this time? Mr. President, Dr. Nivens, that concludes our recognitions for this evening. We thank you for your time.
We get them time, they're leaving.
All right, good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Nivens. Tonight I have a few introductions for tonight, and a few recognitions, and I would like to recognize 3 of our new principals for the 23-24 school year in the LCISD. First, we begin with the new principal of Foster High School, and is Miss Amy Aragoose. Miss Aragoose was born and raised in East Bernard, Texas. Amy received her bachelor's degree from Texas A&M and her master's degree from the University of Houston, Victoria. Ms. Aragoose has a total of 23 years of experience as a teacher, instructional coordinator, and an assistant principal. She currently serves as the associate principal at Foster High School. And unfortunately tonight, Mrs. Aragoose's daughters are not able to join us tonight, but I was informed that, however, they are viewing the introduction online, so I'd also like to properly address her daughters that will be viewing and joining her tonight via the online would be Kendall and Carrie, watching from college. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Amy Aragoose. Next, we have the new principal from Fletcher High School, Mr. Brian Forshee. Mr. Forshee was born in Houston and raised in Spring, Texas. Brian received a bachelor's degree from Texas State University and his master's degree in administration and supervision from Lamar University. He has a total of 20 years of experience in education as a teacher, campus athletic coordinator, and assistant principal. He currently serves as the associate principal at George Ranch High School. Attending tonight with Mr. Forshee is his lovely wife, Lindsay Forshee. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Brian Forshee. Mr. Brian Forshee. And last but not least, next we have the new principal of Jane Long Elementary, Miss Amy Frazier. Miss Frazier was born and raised in Missouri City, Texas. Amy received a bachelor's degree from the University of Houston and her master's degree in education administration from Houston Baptist University. She has a total of 16 years of experience in education as a teacher, reading dyslexia specialist, and instructional coach. Amy previously served as the assistant principal at Velasquez Elementary. Attending with her tonight with Ms. Frazier is her parents, Amos and Patricia Francis, her husband, William Frazier, children, Jalen, William, and Riley. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Amy Frazier. President Hunt, that does end our recognitions. However, I couldn't help but notice we do have our two retiring principals in the audience. So if our principal, Mr. Ward, and Mr. Kipping would stand on behalf of the trustees and Dr. Roosevelt Nivens, we want to thank you for all of your hard work and dedication to LCISD.
Thank you.
No, sir, thank you all. President Hunt and Board of Trustees, that concludes all introductions and recognitions.
All right, are there any board reports?
John looks ready.
I was able to go to a bunch of the one-act plays at Fulshire, and they were great. That's about all I have.
I got to watch a lot of high school baseball, so I got to watch my son, then also some other teams, and I got to watch Foster play last night. And I heard last night that they just got ranked top 10. That's what I heard, so they looked really good last night. Also got to be at the 30th celebration for Dickinson Elementary. It was a great program. It was awesome. And then I got to also watch a bunch of our LCIC kids here in Rosenberg just have the time of their life at spring break at the new splash pad in Rosenberg. So last year I got to go to the city council meeting and, advocate for our kids and say, there's so many kids around here, thanks to all those COVID numbers we had of how many, that ranking of how many students are at those schools. I was able to pull that up quickly when it's really like total population. And so I got to go to city council and there was some back and forth about if the splash pad was going to happen. So I went to go speak up for our kids and our families in the community. And it almost didn't happen at one point. But to be out there watching our Lamar kids have a good time and just have fun and laugh. And it's in our neighborhood. So on the weekends, well, it wasn't this past weekend, but during spring break, I could hear the kids laughing, just knowing that those are our kids. And then we got to do that for them. And then last night, I got to go to City of Richmond's commission meeting. And I guess it was a couple board meetings ago, I talked about us as a community standing up for safe, walkable routes to school, whether it's bus stops or with the kids that walk to school, having sidewalks and streetlights, and said that I would be going to the city council meetings to advocate for that and to speak up and ask the cities to step up to help provide just streetlights for our kids outside and not ditches for them to walk in and all that. So last night I got to go to the City of Richmond meeting and ask the commissioners in their planning to be forward-thinking and to think about, how, we can help our students get to school safely and just go outside and enjoy the outside. So, oh, and I also hear sometimes, is Lambert wearing socks at the board meetings? Tonight, myself and Trustee Bronzell are wearing our crazy socks in honor of World Down Syndrome Day. So it's one of my favorite things we do here at our district is the pumpkin patch at our special education annex over there. And so to see all of our students that have have Down syndrome or other learning disabilities or anything like that, some of our most special smiles that we have. So today I'm wearing my socks in honor of Seth and Noah, and I had a sister that passed away that had Down syndrome, so today is a special day to celebrate all of our students that have Down syndrome.
Can you just get me, can you come back? Sure. I need to relook at what I did.
Well, I have a couple
You got this.
since I did miss last month, and there's always something going on, but I didn't want to not report that because, you know, I wear many hats, and I'm also part of the Fort Bend County Retired Educators Association, which is one of the chapters for TRTA. And we try to do our meetings to do things with our district. So in February, all the culinary departments from junior high and high school had a cookie challenge, and they baked cookies and brought them over to Long Acres Ranch so all the members could sugar out on the most delicious cookies, and then they all won awards, but the members got to vote, and the top three culinary classes were George Ranch High School got first place, and Fulshire High School got second place, and third place went to Randall High School. And the kids had a great time, all the retired teachers had a great time, and I just want to thank all the culinary teachers, and of course, Casey Lazar, that she was the one contact person. She's awesome in trying to get the CTE and whatever we need to bring to the retired teachers, because they so enjoy doing and participating and seeing what our students are doing in the schools. And in March, the same organization, we collect books all throughout the year, all the chapters throughout the state of Texas. And then in March, we go to one school, and this year we went to Velasquez, and every pre-K, kindergarten, and first grader got a brand-new book and to take home. And we found out that we're part of Region 4, and of all the Region 4 school districts, we collected over 22,000 books this year, and all those have been dispensed to all the schools in the Gulf Coast area. So, you know, our retired teachers do step up for our schools and still can make a difference. And it's exciting to see what we'll do next year. And let's see, what else did we do? Oh, and then, of course, I read at Austin Elementary for Read Across America, and all the Dr. Seuss birthday. And of course, yes, I went to the dedication of 10 years for Adolphus and Dickinson's 30 years. And then, I know Mr. Hunt will probably talk about that. His family and myself, we made it through at least 1 mile of the Lunches of Love walk to end childhood hunger. Yeah, but yeah, but his wife was pushing the stroller. We were just walking along. She should get the medal, but, which she did. But and then we both cleaned up for a bit and then ran over to the job fair. So it's been very, very busy over these last couple months, and I know it's going to get busier because I keep getting alerts of all things coming up in these next few weeks towards the end of school. So I think that is about it. Oh, I do want to say, though, our retired group did go out to Needville, and they made us lunch from their culinary department. Now, you go, why you bring up Needville? Well, most of the people we talk to that run all those programs, they either graduated from from Lamar Consolidated High School, or they worked here first, and then they moved over to Needville. And I reminded Curtis Rhodes that there's a sign going out to Needville that says no poaching, and I don't think he's listening. But anyway, they were very nice, and I can't say enough about the culinary departments from from our district too, and I just appreciate what they do for our retired teachers.
You want me to go? I guess just lots of sports. Yep. Thank you. Lots of sports. It's fun because my daughter's school has been playing. She played at Terry High School, Randall High School, and Lamar today. So tennis. So anyways, that was fun, kind of both of my worlds colliding, so in a good way. So that was fun. Shout out to Coach Struther. His wife works at my daughter's school, and then he's the coach at Lamar. So it's fun to get to chat with him, and all of the people from her school are very impressed with all of our facilities. So it's kind of fun to be on the receiving end to hear compliments, especially from some of our older schools. Went to a lacrosse game at George Ranch and a baseball game at George Ranch, and Miss Reynolds' son was playing. There she is, I see the hand. So it's fun to get to see Grant play, and so just lots of sports. It was fun.
Yeah, since our last meeting, I went with the Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce with a lot of my colleagues here to Fort Bend County Day at the state capitol. That was really cool. There was a lot of business leaders and folks from other school districts on that trip. I went to a JV baseball game at George Ranch High School, the second grade musical at Velasquez Elementary. Those are always fun. I went and visited Randall High School for the first time in a little while. I want to thank John Montalongo, the head principal over there, for the hospitality and showing me around again. I also stopped by the Cougar Carnival at Campbell Elementary, and that was a good event on a Saturday. It was perfect weather, put on by the Campbell PTO. You guys did a great job. I went to the Dickinson Elementary 30th anniversary ceremony. And the last thing I did was really cool. It was over spring break, and I was invited by State Senator Mays Middleton to come and speak at the Capitol as a board member to the State Affairs Committee, the hearing on his bill, Senate Bill 175. It was held in the Senate chamber, so it kind of had the aura of being an official Senate session. If this bill it was actually passed 3 days later out of the committee to the full Senate. And if this bill becomes law, it will prevent taxpayer money from being used to fund lobbying efforts. And so while I was there to lobby, I want everybody to know that Lamar did not pay my expenses to go, nor did anybody else. And for those who might not know, this is a volunteer position. So I went up there to lobby, and that's what I believe in too, is that citizens can do it, nonprofits can do it, companies can do it, but I don't believe taxpayer money should be used to do it. And there's an old saying that victory has 1,000 fathers, so if this bill actually becomes law, I will claim just a little bit of credit for helping it. But thanks to Senator Middleton for inviting me up to speak.
I did have one more. Our CTE, under Dr. Lazar, they got to have 2 days at U of H Sugar Land. There was a tech day and then a health services day. And I was in a recap meeting today, and we had a bus driver that made a good impression on all those people that helped put it on. They were talking, going through the day, and this bus driver was like, well, what's this about? And from what I understand, went on a tour with some of the students to see U of H, and then something sparked inside her of like, I can go back and finish this. So she was excited. And so today, amongst some of the business leaders and the chamber and representatives from U of H, they're talking about how they can help this bus driver go back to school and get their degree. And so it was cool to hear one of our employees made an impression on a bigger, that she was there to drive our kids, make sure they got from point A to point B safe. And then amongst these business leaders and U of H, she made an impression. And so we're going to figure out now and make that connection and figure out, okay, what can we do to help this bus driver attain some of those dreams? So.
I wanted to share some appreciation for some of the things that I've seen throughout the district over this past month, and for a lot of us, it's been a very busy month. I had an opportunity to visit some of the folks that speak life and just do an incredible job for so many of the more vulnerable students in our district. So the first received an invitation from Dr. Smith and Mr. Wan to go to the JJ AEP for their career day. It was absolutely fantastic. The students there were the ones that put together the career day with the support of the teachers. And then after that, Dr. Nivens and myself went over, and a lot of folks, if you know, that are watching out that don't work for the district don't know that Lamar CISD provides the teachers for the Juvenile Detention Center. And so that serves not just Lamar CISD students, but we have contracts with other districts all throughout Fort Bend County. And just had an opportunity to talk to some of the students and to thank the teachers. It is an incredibly difficult job that they're doing. And the students there just had nothing but positive things to say about the teachers and what they're doing for the students that are there. Got to visit with some of the family support specialists who do an incredible job for our most vulnerable students. Visited the new Jane Long Gym and Common Threads, and if you haven't been over there and seen their spread, it feels like a storefront, like something that you see in the mall, and it provides a really positive experience for families that might not be able to afford clothing or school supplies, or teen parents that need baby supplies. There's a place to come there. It's a safe place. It's a positive place, and there's support there. So very thankful. And one thing that I didn't know, and that Ms. Alita told me, is that for a lot of folks in the district, it's a bit of a hike to get to Common Threads, like if you want to donate stuff to Common Threads. But if you drop the clothing items, if you're doing spring cleaning or something, and you drop the clothing items off at your front office of your home campus, Ms. Alita will make a special trip and go and pick the stuff up and bring it to Common Threads. So if anybody out there is watching and you're getting ready to do some spring cleaning and you've got kids stuff and it's just a little bit too small in them, instead of dropping it off like at a drop box or something nearby, you can have those clothes go to students in LCISD that really need it. Drop it off at your home campus. Also visited, and we did this, myself, Mr. Welch, Ms. Williams, when we first joined the board, visited the medical and dental clinics that we have through a grant program, free of cost to the district, for the blue track and red tracks, so that they can receive free or reduced cost medical and dental care. Went to the job fair, went to a whole lot of Fulshire girls basketball games, including the one in San Antonio, which was a lot of fun. And then finally, just did my usual round of going to schools, and one of the things that stood out was just the incredible academics in every classroom that I visited. There were lesson plans that were engaging. I can always tell when I walk into a classroom and the students don't swing their head to see who walked in the door because they're so into what they're learning. Every classroom that I went into, that was the case. There was differentiated learning where different learners, different styles were getting what they needed. There were small groups. There was one class in particular, it was a fifth grade class, and the students were up at the board explaining their work, and then students were questioning them with just really like respectful language and learning how to push back, and it was just great. So that's not easy. That doesn't come easy. So I wanted to thank all the teachers for all that they're doing for our students. It's incredible to see. That's it. That's my report. Anything else? Dr. Nivens, do you have a superintendent's report?
I do, sir, I do. My report is pretty simple. It's, last week was spring break, and I got a chance to sit back and reflect, and we went on vacation. Our two kids are in college, and so I did not pay for them to come with us. I told them, y'all stay in school and don't bother us. We're empty nesters and stuff. The word grateful kept coming up to me. And, just grateful, extremely grateful. And we went on vacation, and my wife and I celebrated 23 years. And it is because of her the reason why I'm who I am and in this position. And I've had the success I've had in leading schools and organizations, and as a principal, as a teacher. She's always been that person in the back to push me to get better. And so I just want to give a public shout out to Carla Nivens for being the backbone and being that, they say behind every good man is a great woman, and that's her. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I'm also grateful for us being intentional about celebrating kids. In leadership, I tell my team all the time, you can get caught up in the perks of the job versus the work of the job. And if you get caught up in the perks of the job, then you forget to do the work and you forget to concentrate on why we do what we do. And I appreciate the fact that we take time to celebrate our young people because we have a lot of great things happening for our young people in our school system, as you saw tonight. Academic, athletic, and every which way. And so I appreciate the board and I appreciate the community for allowing us to celebrate our young people and being intentional about keeping the main thing. Because you can get caught up in the adult issues and dealing with adult drama, and you forget about the little people that need us to get it right. And so I'm just very grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful for Carla. I'm grateful for my kids, and I'm just grateful for being here.
Ms. Johnson, are there any public comments?
If you wish to address the board, you must fill out a card and submit it before the presiding officer calls the meeting to order. While speakers generally have 5 minutes to address the board, the presiding officer may establish an overall time limit for public comment and adjust the time allotted to each speaker when necessary to accommodate a large number of speakers. However, no speakers shall be given less than 1 minute. All of this is in compliance with HB 2840. Each speaker tonight will have 5 minutes. While the board values hearing from members of the public, trustees may not respond to comments as they are prohibited by law from discussing or deciding any subject that is not on the board's publicly noticed agenda. Speakers having complaints against individual district employees or trustees may only address the board after filing a complaint form and in the manner provided for in board policy DGBA employee complaints, F&G student and parent complaints, and GF public complaints. The presiding officer or designee shall determine whether a speaker has filed a complaint according to policy. Any speakers who complain of individual district employees or trustees during public comment will be directed by the presiding officer to stop addressing the board and will refer the speaker to the appropriate complaint policy. Please state your name when you come forward. Our first speaker tonight is Michael Sherman.
Thank you. I've had a lot of input on what I should or should not say, what I should or should not do. I can say the top input that I've received is don't yell and don't cuss, and I'm going to heed that advice. Just please agree to understand how pissed off I am. This district has current and past administrators that have taken actions, violated board policies, violated state and federal laws. They lack any resemblance of any type of ethical behavior. After a year and a half of emails, text messages, phone calls, falsified records, I've now come to find out, and pending the Freedom of Information Act request we'll have in my hands, that the superintendent's office has begun using resources of this district to defame and reframe his own lies and failures after getting phone calls and text messages from many people. I found that he has gone to Chamber of Commerce meetings, has used messages in an attempt to belittle or defame me. I have sent copies to everybody that is at this table, these tables right here. Superintendent standing in front of PowerPoints and in his speech and writing in a manner that would lead someone to question my credibility. You know, it's one thing when you're trying to back up somebody who is being honest. You're attacking someone who is being honest right here. I just want to hear what's next. What is the next step? When will the district stop trying to ruin my credibility, to adversely affect my ability to earn a living? I've earned a lot of respect in my lifetime. I've got 22 years of active naval service. I've got 10 years of service in teaching. I do not take lightly an attack on my character and integrity. This demands action. It demands action. You can say, well, there's no comment. Well, the superintendent is commenting. He's paying people to come up with comments, evidently using district resources, laptops, and the podium in other places in an attempt to change the narrative. You have all of the proof. I've sent it to you in emails. You can't act like you don't have it. I'm here tonight to demand action and strongly urge the school board to consider termination or non-renewal of the current superintendent. You cannot expect this community to support any district of innovation decisions when its leader has failed to conduct himself in an honest and trustworthy manner. You can't do it. You have to have the trust there. The credibility of this board and its ability to properly oversee the actions of the superintendent is at stake. I will not relent. Superintendent has lied about the content of our conversation of a meeting that we had and has now ensured that the only thing that I can do is demand a public correction and a public retraction. This has to stop at some point. You have the ability to hold this superintendent accountable and to stop these actions. You have the ability. You choose not to do it, then you're not doing your job. It is to supervise and oversee the office of the superintendent. It's damn time that you do it. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Betty Braun.
Do I just start speaking? Do I just start? Okay. I am very concerned about the direction that LCISD is taking. I have read the meeting notes from the last DSIC meetings, and the last meeting is concerning because the DSIC board voted on a package deal, and now it's an a la carte after TEA struck down Innovations 5 and 6. The process for DOI has been rushed, and it's been extremely difficult as a parent to find out information about DOI and to try and understand why LCISD wants to move in this direction when DOI clearly has a bad rap. And this was a quote I pulled from the meeting minutes. When LCISD wanted parents to vote for bonds, they had town halls and provided so much information to us. DOI was buried in a survey, and only when I clicked on the calendar to look at it did I realize that if I voted on that calendar, I was voting for DOI. As a parent, the security and safety of our children should be our biggest concern. Having large classroom sizes that can't be controlled is not a safe learning environment. I'm also concerned about the shorter summers. Having the extra holidays doesn't balance out the days for kids in divorced families. The board should push pause and take more time to consider such a big change for our district. Give parents more time to learn about DOI and give more research and look at what the board coming in next year. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Cindy Harden. Our final speaker is Amy Oakey.
Good evening, Amy Oakey, parent and substitute teacher in LCISD. And might I add, I answered the LCISD call during COVID and became a substitute. So I have some concerns about DOI. I'm currently against it. One is hiring non-certified teachers as a substitute myself. That would be like putting me in those positions to fulfill the year. And while I think I'm a great substitute, I have kids that'll come up here and tell you I'm the best. I don't think I'm qualified to be in the classroom, even as a long-term sub. I don't have classroom management skills. I don't know how to effectively teach the information. So that's like putting those people in there. Let's see. Another one would be the calendar. I think my biggest concern is, the start date, and then also if we're adding days in the front, why are we adding more, I don't know, like more days to the whole calendar? I don't understand that, why we're going from 171 to, I think it was like 175 and 178 or something, instructional days. And again, like Betty Brown said before me, there's been no town hall meeting, information has been buried. I knew when you guys sent out the calendar survey that it was a vote on DOI, because I know you can't push the start date earlier without being one. So I knew when voting that I already had that information. However, as a parent, there was no information in the email, there was no information in the actual survey unless you clicked on the calendar. And I think that was very underhanded on the board's part. I also feel that classroom size, I understand that DOI has no cap on classroom size. As a substitute, as a parent, classroom sizes are too big. Having 20 plus students in elementary and 30 plus students in secondary is way too many to manage. I had a friend tell me that her daughter in 7th grade math class at the beginning of the year had 42 students. 42 students for one teacher teaching a math class. That's entirely too many. Now, as it evened out, there's like 30-something in there now, but to start the year at 42 students, that's unacceptable. I think the better question, instead of hiring non-certified teachers, is why are we losing our certified teachers? Where are they going? Why does anybody want to be a teacher? Are there no teachers that are graduating? I mean, I'm a sub. I'm seeing lots of student teachers, so somebody wants to be a teacher. Why are we chasing them away? I guess that's mostly it. I just feel, I'm reading you my email that you all should have read because I sent it. I feel LCISD has many other issues, excuse me, it could spend time trying to fix rather than introducing something new right now. I also personally feel the district might be better served if we just split, right? You guys keep sending information that we're the biggest growing district, adding 20 new schools. That's a lot of schools to manage. So at this point, I would vote no to becoming a DOI, and I do not support moving forward without more investigation and dissemination of information, maybe town halls, send emails out to the parents. Like I said, it was very hard to find any information on DOI. I'm not a good Googler, but I will admit that. But it was very hard to find any information. It was just the same little blurb that kept coming up. I guess it's like a definition of DOI. I don't know. That's the best I could come up with. So thank you for your time.
That is all, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. At this time, we'll take action on the consent agenda. Are there any items that the board would like to pull?
I don't necessarily want to pull it, but I want to talk about R, 8R. Let me get over there.
Any others? All right, may I have a motion to approve the current consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Danziger moves. Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Welch seconds. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would like to ask the administration to help the public understand, we are moving Roberts Middle School to the new Terrell Elementary building next year. Is that correct?
That is correct. Well, the $1 million budget that we have is for 2 moves. It is moving Roberts Middle School to the Terrell physical location. It's also moving the freshmen from Fulshire High School to the Roberts physical location as well. And then that budget also moves them back. So it's to move them there and then move them back.
So my question was, thank you for that clarification. My question was, can you help us understand, it's a lot of money, $1 million for moving 2 schools not too far away, especially the one across the parking lot. Help us understand why it's so expensive. What is involved in those expenses? Are we physically moving desks, or what are we doing that's causing $1 million? $500,000 to go and $500,000 to come back.
So what we've done is we've been able to take some resources that we currently have, the 1,000-seat addition at Fulshire High School that will open in the fall of '24. We're using that furniture money to buy furniture to put into Terrell Elementary School now. So we'll use it, Roberts Middle School students will use that furniture, and then at the end of that, we'll move back into the 1,000-seat addition at Fulshire High School. So this move is mainly getting all the boxes and materials, because we have to move book rooms, nurses, labs, we have to move all the teachers' materials, all of that stuff has to be moved to Terrell Elementary. And then again, all of that same books, materials, and things have to move from Fulshear High School over to Roberts. So it is a rental of moving material, crates, book crates, things of that nature, and then also the company will come in after it gets labeled, put it on a box truck and move it to the new location and then separate it and put it back into the other rooms. And they'll do that for both Roberts to Terrell and then Terrell Fulshear to Roberts, and then they will come back the following summer and put it back. The $1 million that we currently have now, we would be buying a portable for the same. So to be able to do the same thing, we discussed with the board, putting 20 additional portable buildings at Fulshear High School, taking up more parking, which is a $10 million cost. So this $1 million cost is taking $9 million to save for the district to be able to do it temporarily for 10 months and then to put it back.
It just seems like a lot of money. And I'm trusting you guys. You guys are the experts to farm this out and to get multiple quotes. So if there's anybody in the public that would like more information, I'm going to have them contact me, and I'm going to forward it to Dr. Nivens for you guys to follow up.
I would also say that our area superintendent, our campus principals, and our bond program office has met multiple times to vet through this, to make sure that we're doing the right thing for kids by putting them there and making sure they have the right resources for next year. But yes, sir, we can provide that information.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. This time, we'll take action on the action items. Dr. Nivens.
All right, Board, I'll turn it over to Mr. Buchanan to talk about design development for Tomas and Banks Junior High, Tomas High School and Banks Junior High.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Nivens. Tonight, we bring forth a discussion and possible approval of the exterior options for Tomas High School and Banks Junior High School. We had a design committee that came together and met on January the 20th. They discussed all three options, and at the end of that discussion, they voted on all three options. These are our design committee members that participated in that design, and we have a pretty good cross-section across the district. So this is Banks, option one. So I would like to inform the board, too, that we've re-verified with our architectural firm that all three of these options have no cost variance. There's very minimal cost difference between the three. So this is Banks, option one. This is Tomas, option one. This is Banks Junior High School, option two. Tomas High School, option two. Banks Junior High School, option three. Tomas High School, option three. And after the committee got through reviewing these and looking at these, they voted. Of our 19 members on the committee, it was overwhelmingly, they preferred option one. And are there any questions related to the three options?
Go ahead.
I'm just going to go back to the people that are on that committee. Did they also talk to, I know where the school is going, people from that neighborhood or the people that developed the neighborhoods that are going to be around there?
So Ms. Danziger, what we charged the architectural firms before they came up with the three options was to go through those neighborhoods. They looked at their common community centers that they have, their interests coming into their neighborhood, and that's where they developed the options that they came off of, was
Okay.
pulling those materials and designs from the surrounding neighborhoods.
Because I remember when we did Fulshear, there was a lot of input from the
Yes, ma'am.
Fulshear community. So, okay, so there was, thank you.
Mr. Buchanan, so we are changing, I'm asking the question and trying to explain it for the public as well. And correct me if I'm wrong. We are changing the design of the next high school and the several next high schools and junior highs from what is currently built.
This is not a change of the footprint and layout of our current high schools. This is a prototype matching our others. What this did do is, because of the exterior neighborhoods, we changed the exterior elevations. So if you'll notice, this does not look like Randall, even though it has the same interior footprint of
I see.
Randall. except for the 500-seat addition. We've incorporated that. So this is a 2,500-seat addition high school. But yes, sir, it's the same layout as our current prototypes. It's just changing the exterior look of it.
And we expect to reproduce this several times? Is that
No,
right?
sir, this is our last of this prototype. Secondary Complex 8 will be a brand-new prototype that
Oh,
we
I
will
see what
look
you're saying.
moving forward for 8 and 9 and possibly 10.
Gotcha.
But we've always changed the outside. George Ranch does not look like Foster, and Randall doesn't look like Fulshire. So that's kind of something we've always done, is work the neighborhood.
Yes, ma'am.
correct? Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Buchanan. Is there a motion?
I'll
Mr.
make a
Welch.
motion that we adopt option 1 for Banks Junior High and Tomas High School.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Lambert seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, trustees, next we will have Ms. Katie Marchena and Ms. Sarah Ryan to come up to discuss some possible action on District of Innovation.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Nivens. We'll just go through sort of the overview of the District of Innovation plan that the DSIC has brought forth for you. Starting with information about District of Innovation. The key point from this slide is that DOI is defined by Education Code and Administration Code. So the process for DOI has been outlined by code and gives traditional school districts more local control and more flexibilities than sticking to the standard. We have potential benefits include more local control, deciding which flexibilities best suit our needs as an independent school district, freedom in customizing, and as we have added here at the local level, reviewing and revisiting the plan yearly, autonomy that the plan doesn't have to require state approval. The things that LCISD is committed that we are 100% not going to do, all of these things are possible in a DOI, but they are things that the DSIC committee and the administrators in the district have said, we are not going to do these. We will not eliminate a teacher contract. We will not decrease the 75,600 minutes of instruction for students. We will not reduce teacher compensation. We will not eliminate a teacher's 30-minute duty-free lunch. We will not reduce or eliminate teacher planning time. Teachers will still receive their guaranteed 450 minutes within each 2-week period. DSIC has met multiple times over the course of the last year. Our timeline for DOI included, district leadership began talking about DOI in July of 2022. Dr. Nivens and Dr. Mossage came to the DSIC meeting November the 9th and made presentation and kind of overviewed the process of DOI with us at that meeting. The majority of DSIC members were in favor of moving forward with consideration of becoming a district of innovation. So we took a vote and we all came to a consensus. On December 13th, we had a public hearing to discuss potentially becoming a district of innovation. And the board has appointed the District Advisory Committee as the DSIC. We developed our local innovation plan. The makeup of the DSIC is very important to this process. DSIC includes 67 teachers, 7 non-teaching campus professionals, 2 non-teaching district administrators, 8 parents, 3 business representatives, and 4 community representatives. The makeup of the DSIC is defined in Board Policy BQA. So it is not something that we can choose the makeup of. It is defined in policy and we follow. Campus and district level DSIC members are elected by the stakeholders at their campus. They represent to serve a 3-year term. Parents, business, and community members are volunteers. DSIC members can serve 2 consecutive 3-year terms, but are limited to 2. So it's been a very important fact that out of the 91 members, there are 67 teachers. So amongst the committee, we are not, as a group of teachers, we are not going to allow things to come forth in the District of Innovation that would not be beneficial for students and teachers, because we're on the front lines with the children, making sure that all of this is going to work for us. DSIC is led by myself, and my secretary is Heather Trici. And then we have all of the list of the membership from each campus that was voted in from their campus. We have non-instructional representatives that range from job roles, including GT facilitators, special ed adult transition, counselors, instructional coaches, and career and college facilitators. So we have a wide variety of different backgrounds and input. The innovation timeline, DSIC held public meetings to consider potential innovations and to draft the plan, the local innovation plan, on the January 10th and 31st. The final draft had been developed and was posted online for public comment beginning February the 3rd. February 27th, 2023, Dr. Nivens notified the commissioner and the TEA accreditation department of our intent to vote on the proposed plan and sent the plan for review. So our plan was posted for 30 days to the public. They were able to go online and add their comments and their thoughts. And during that 30 days was when Dr. Nivens notified the commissioner. We consulted with TEA to determine if it was allowable for the board to vote on innovation separately rather than the plan as a whole. At the last board meeting, that was one of the things that was brought up amongst the board, that they were interested in that. It is allowable as long as the final version of the plan, as approved by a majority of the district level committee at the public meeting, remain posted for 30 days, unchanged, prior to the board taking action to adopt it. And board action at the meeting can limit the scope, but does not expand it. So if you want to limit what's happening, that's okay, but the board cannot add any additional innovations to the plan. DSIC met on Tuesday, March 7th, and voted to allow the board to approve or deny each specific innovation from the publicly published LCISD plan individually. There were 64 members present at the meeting, 63 voted and 1 abstained. And you can see the results of the poll, 69%, almost 70% were for, allowing you to vote individually. So now we're kind of going to go into the why each innovation is important at Lamar. Teacher certification, there's a need to hire industry experts to fill hard-to-fill positions in CTE and world languages. We currently have CTE students and auto tech and health sciences who are unable to complete some of their course requirements because of vacancies being filled by long-term subs. Vacancies in sign language, French, Spanish have caused limited offerings, particularly in level 3 and 4 courses. They provide remote delivery where the students are working on an online course instead of with a person in front, a real teacher in front of them. They're still receiving the class, but it's just not the same. So there's a need to hire those industry experts because there just aren't enough certified teachers currently that are experts additionally in auto tech or nursing and healthcare. I'm a certified teacher, but I'm not an auto mechanic. I'm a certified teacher, but I am not a nurse or a healthcare provider. LCISD will continue to seek certified educators for teaching positions and maintain expectations for employee certification. But when the search efforts have been exhausted, the district will be able to recruit, hire, and locally certify individuals who are knowledgeable and fully equipped to perform the duties of the following
hard-to-hire teaching positions, CTE, career and technical education, and world languages. The district will develop minimum required qualifications. The criteria will include professional work experience, formal training, education in the content area, active and relevant professional industry certifications, combination of work experience, training, and education, a demonstration of successful experience working with students. And the qualification criterion will vary by position. The district must provide hired teachers under this option with the training necessary to carry out the expectations of their position. So we'll be training them locally with, you are an expert in your field, now we're gonna help you become an expert in teaching at the local level. So that's where we come into play. DSIC voted 80% for this innovation. Innovation 2 is the first day of instruction. Currently, the challenge is trying to find teachers and make sure that we have the needs of the students met at the beginning of school so that we aren't coming in with vacancies. There is a 45-day rule where a teacher can resign and be released from their contract prior to the start of school without a penalty. Our later start means that there are fewer candidates left to fill the vacancies by these late resignations. In doing a little bit of research, I looked at LCISD compared to Needville and Katy and Fort Bend, and our teacher return day this year was August the 5th, and all of the other districts surrounding us were much later than that. So then, first day of instruction for us was August 22nd. All the surrounding districts, the first day of instruction with students was August 17th and August 10th. So their first day with kids was earlier. 45 days resignation before the first day of school would put resigning for Lamar at about June the 20th and resigning for the other districts in the area resigning by June the 8th to June the 15th. So their resignation date was before ours. So if a teacher signed or was interested in working in Lamar and was interested in working in Fort Bend, if I decided for whatever reason I wanted to go with Fort Bend, whatever works for my family, my commute, my situation, if I decided to go with Fort Bend and I went ahead and started with Fort Bend, I still could resign from Lamar after I had started working at Fort Bend. I could still resign between June the 8th and June the 20th, and then Lamar is left trying to hire someone at the last minute. And all of those other teachers who have already started working, who are already within that 45-day resignation period, cannot be picked up by Lamar. They're already off the table because their 45-day period had expired. So we want to be able to be up there at the front of the line, picking up all the really good people that we want and enticing them to come to us. There's a challenge to balance the days in each semester, particularly at the secondary level. We want to ensure that the last day of the semester is before winter break. An earlier start time would allow for additional strategic breaks for staff and students throughout the year. We've all seen it happen. There's sort of this period of disillusionment at the beginning of school where you come in so strong in August and you have all this energy and all this fervor and zeal, and then you kind of wear down starting in, October, November. You start getting tired and you start feeling frustrated. But if we can add in some more breaks, we can move the line from being quite so low. We can move that line up and offer teachers sort of that mental break, offer kids that mental break and that uplift at that where you're kind of down in your dragon and you just need that little pickup and that little perk and just a little, time to relax and be with your family and stuff. Calendar preference, B was the overwhelming winner. Other districts in the area are very similar to calendar B. Ms. Sonia Cole-Hamilton has further details that she's going to share in her presentation about calendar after this presentation. But I'm sure she can answer questions if there are any. So the first day of instruction may be scheduled prior to the fourth Monday in August, but not prior to the second Monday in August. The scheduled start date will be set to best meet the needs of LCISD students, staff, and community. And the DSIC voted, and 73.8%, almost 74% voted for this innovation. Innovation 3 is required staff development. Annual compliance trainings must be completed as teachers and staff are preparing for students to return. Many of the topics there's very little change in the content from year to year. We are trying to make the move to go into the 3-year cycle so that we can better engage teachers. So it's not a checkoff list at the beginning of school when you're trying to do 1,000 things and you don't go in and just, oh, click, I watched the video and I didn't really take in the info as well as I should have because I have all these things to do. So if we can make an adjustment and you can really take in the information and put it in your brain and use it, it's better than just the checklist of getting things done. Required professional development as outlined in Education Code, the compliance training in DMA Legal will be completed on a 3-year rotation versus being completed annually. And 90.2% of DSIC voted for this innovation. There was a staff development subcommittee that met on March the 9th. They reviewed annual compliance training and discussed topics for a 3-year rotation. And the committee members are shown here. And again, in the committee, we had different roles. We had teachers, upper elementary, lower elementary, secondary. We had director of innovative learning. We had different directors and nurses and talent development and HR and even the deputy superintendents. So we had lots of people involved with us. Police were also there, excuse me. We reviewed the federal codes to make sure which trainings have to be done yearly. And we looked through, and these are the trainings that we decided as a committee needed to be completed annually. FERPA, discrimination awareness, sexual harassment, health emergency, child abuse, trauma awareness, active shooter, family reunification, youth suicide, positive behavior and intervention supports, PBIS, and bullying recognition and response. It is recommended that we move these trainings to the 3-year rotation: bloodborne pathogens, AEDs, and human trafficking awareness. One of the things we discussed during the meeting was that we wanted to make sure that the content was current, relevant, and there is not redundancy, that teachers are not having to watch and get the content from multiple places, from different video services that we utilize, Vector and Cognito, so we're not watching the same thing twice. And we also talked about streamlining some of it, that instead of watching, if the requirement is, yes, you have to do this, federal law says you have to do it every year, it doesn't mean it has to be a video that's 30 or 45 minutes long. Maybe it's better to take that training and have the nurse do a simple training during our teacher comeback weeks before students arrive, and she can tailor that training to her specific campus and say, we have students who need seizure medications, or we have students that need EpiPens, and she can train those teachers more specifically and tailor that, and we can still meet the requirements of what we need in a shorter time span while we're on the clock, instead of doing it at home or in the evenings watching videos that are extremely long. So we will share updates on topics and make sure that everyone knows where the AED is located and that everybody knows what's key at your campus. Innovation 4, the designation of a campus behavior coordinator. So the behavior coordinator is responsible for monthly discipline. They're responsible for audits that are turned in monthly and implementing PBIS and communicating with parents and sort of working as the liaison between the parents and working on things with discipline at each campus. All assistant principals build those relationships with the students and their families assigned to them, and they're the ones that are best equipped to handle discipline concerns. Placing the duty of the behavior coordinator is a great inefficiency, and it limits the effectiveness of the Lamar CISD administrators. So sharing the wealth amongst a team will make it a much easier task. That monthly audit if we share it amongst everyone who's working with students, it becomes much easier and much more applicable. The principal may designate the duties of the campus behavior coordinator to campus administrators to serve the best needs of their students and families. The district will provide training and guidance, and they will ensure consistency and adherence to all policy and legal requirements. When DSIC voted, approximately 82% voted yes for this innovation. Innovation 5 and 6 are no longer allowable. In the notification to the commissioner and TEA, they returned back information to us that there was an update just right as we were beginning this process, when Dr. Nivens was just starting the conversations in July. That was when there was some updates to law going on, and it was kind of like our paths crossed, and we just missed that as we were going along. And so they came back and they said, your plan looks great, but we need you to pull Innovation 5 and Innovation 6 as they are no longer allowable per TEC Code 37005 in that October commissioner rules. So really right before it was brought to DSIC, they made these updates. So the innovations currently stand. Certification required, Innovation 1. Innovation 2 is first day of instruction. Innovation 3, staff development requirements. And Innovation 4, designation of the campus behavior coordinator. The DOI terms are that Lamar will begin the plan, should it be voted in, on March 21st, 2023, and end on March 21st, 2028, unless it is rescinded or further renewed by the board in accordance with law or terminated by the Commissioner of Education. The plan may be amended, rescinded, or reviewed by a majority vote of the district level committee established under TEC 11.251, and that committee is the DSIC, along with 2/3 majority of the board vote. Lamar, we wanted to add a sort of a easy, did we skip one? I'm sorry. No, we just have it in there twice. Yeah, sorry. So we added in a sort of an easy to follow flow chart, as you can see. We will review the DOI plan yearly. So when DSIC meets, we will go back and we will have a process in place. So if a new innovation is introduced or a change is suggested, this is how the DSIC will review it. If the DSIC says, yeah, we need to make a change to this, we'll go along the top line of this graphic. So if the DSIC approves a change, then it will come back to the Board of Trustees to vote. If the board says, yes, we agree, then the innovation plan will be updated. If the board says, no, we don't want to make the change, then there's no changes and the plan stays exactly as it is. If a new innovation is introduced or a change is suggested and DSIC reviews it and says, no, we don't want to make that change, no change happens. So it's not that the board can come back if heaven forbid all of you are voted out of your positions and we don't see you anymore, the next board can't come in and say, we're going to make all these changes and we're going to supersede you all. That's not the way the plan works. It's sort of a team effort to make sure that what the DSIC with our heavy group of teachers balances with the board and their sort of overview for the district. Questions?
Before we get started, can I just say, I think you've done a great job.
Thank
I know
you.
it's a lot of work, and I
Thank
know
you.
you're in a kind of a hot seat, if you will, and it's not an easy position, so I just wanted to thank you for your time, because I know you've spent a lot of time and probably some stress comes along with it, so just, if no one else says thank you, I know we appreciate you, so.
Thank you.
just-
And I know it's a lot for you all to review and look up things too, so I appreciate that you all have come in with knowledge and, listening to what people are asking you as well, so it's a good balance.
Yes, we do appreciate the hard work you've done over several months.
So before we begin, we have 4 separate innovations that we'll be considering. And just to avoid us jumping around from topic to topic, I'm sure that some of us might have questions or comments on the process. So my suggestion for structuring the conversation would be, first, if anyone has comments or questions on the process or District of Innovation as a whole, that we have that discussion. and essentially discuss anything that wouldn't fit neatly into one of the buckets of the 4 innovations. And then second, we would go innovation by innovation and ask our questions and have our discussion, making motions as we go along. And then if there's a motion and a second, then do a vote individually, as opposed to kind of going from 1 to 4 and back and forth. So everybody all right with that?
Yes.
So we'll start with just general, if anybody has questions about DOI, District of Innovation as a whole or on the process, we can have that discussion.
I will jump in. You said that 2 of ours they had come back, TEA had voted. Can that happen with even the ones we're voting on? Can TEA come through and say, we have decided that this no longer exists, so that they would notify us, so we would make sure that we stayed in compliance?
Correct. And for instance, on Innovations 5 and 6, if you look at other local innovation plans from the area around us, Katy, Houston, Fort Bend, many of those districts had these innovations in their plan. And when this update to the law was made in October of '22, they were notified, you can't do that anymore.
Okay.
So they had to make a change to their plan per TEA.
So this plan, DOI, the District of Innovation, it has a lot of checks and balances throughout the whole state. TEA, our committee, our superintendent, his administration. So it's not living in a vacuum. It's living live amongst a lot of people that can keep watch over
Correct.
it. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Because I think a lot of people worry by what you just said, somebody can come in and make all sorts of changes, and why do we need this now? I think you said at another board meeting how many school districts there are and how many school districts have it, and we're probably one of the largest school districts that does not have this plan in place for our district.
I believe it's 1,026 or 1,029 districts in the state, at 920 have a DOI.
So we're kind of late to the conversation.
Mhm.
Okay.
I have some comments
Mr. Welch.
from my fellow board members, but not necessarily these folks. So,
Any other questions for anybody? All right.
I mean, I don't know if it's for you guys, maybe it's for y'all. I was talking, Miss Oki asked earlier a few questions. I think you've already answered some of them. But is there a teacher shortage?
Yes, there is a teacher shortage. And we are doing our very best as a district to hire professionals that are coming out of school, that are, fresh out of college, those girls who are so excited and those young men who are so excited to do this. And there's just not as many coming out. There's just not as many. And there's just not as many teachers in general. People have left the profession, people have retired. COVID sort of took a nice swipe at us at that time. And it's just hard to find people. But overall, for instance, the innovation about the non-certified teachers, that won't apply for elementary campuses, for a 3rd grade teacher or a 5th grade teacher or a special education teacher. That's not the teacher that we're going to be able to hire for a non-certified teacher. It's only for CTE and world languages. So it's the specialized teacher that we're really trying to hire. And we're still going to be looking for recruiting events and recruiting teachers and offering, the best perks and the best salaries and customer service attitude, telling everybody how great it is to be here. But yes, there is a shortage.
Well, I appreciate that. I think I hear that a lot, but it's just not true. People, so I appreciate you answering that. I knew the answer to that, but I think it's important for people to be reminded, there's a major shortage.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the statistics of people coming out of college are lower and lower, and so there's definitely a shortage. She had mentioned, I think, saying, I saw a lot of fresh teachers, that kind of thing, and it's like, there's a definite shortage. And so I appreciate you answering that. And it's good to reiterate, this is not for all classes. We are very specific on what teachers, and each teacher that we asked for an exemption for, has to be run through this entire process every time. We don't just get to add them whenever we have a shortage. So I think I'm hoping people hear that, because not, I keep hearing, I know nothing about the DOI. We've had board meeting after board meeting. We've sent out a lot of ways. So I don't know what else to communicate this to people, but, so I hope people will listen to these, explanations on why we go 1 through 4. But anyways, just a couple of fresh things, and looking through some of my emails, trying to answer some of the a lot of people I know are just concerned, we don't want to be X, Y, and Z. We're not trying to be X, Y, and Z, and I think that's hopefully that's a unfounded fear that will prove to not be true in the future. So,
We have, when there are no more of those people in CTE and in world languages, then we're going to reach out to those people with that industry experience.
and I think one more thing is really critical for people to hear, and I've had several of these conversations, is we had basically 4 checks just to get to this point. The administration saw the need, DSIC saw a need, the board is considering approving it, and then we had to submit it to TEA. That is 4 checks.
Yes.
And so anybody that thinks this is just going to get shoved through, or we can just overturn it easily, I mean, I want to say that's got to be one of the things that we have the most checks and balances on out of anything. And so I think that's so important for people to understand. There's a lot of things that happen, and it's every single change. Nothing will be blanketed. So.
And Lamar is sort of special in, we put in a provision that we will review the plan yearly. Not every DOI has that provision in it. And it was just something, again, as a checks and balances, to make sure, hey, if this innovation number 1 is not working for us for whatever reason, someone can bring that to our attention, and we can, as a DSIC, we can look at it and say, yeah, that's really not working. Or, no, it's great. We're doing okay with that. We're good. And we can go from there and follow that flow chart to make adjustments yearly. It doesn't have to wait till the end of the 5-year period for the total DOI process.
So I feel like we try to cover all bases so that good checks and balances. So I just think that's very important for everybody to hear. Hopefully they'll watch the meeting, who knows? But we've said it over and over, and so I just wanted to reiterate. I did have a conversation today with a lady in my neighborhood, and she speaks French. She was sitting there, and we were speaking a little French. Mine was a few words, hers was a lot. But, I said, actually, her kids graduated from LCISD schools, and she was talking about her love of teaching French, and I was like, well, if something happens, this evening, would you be up for it? And so I said, I don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, so I love meeting people like that who have a love to teach and the language, but they're, I don't know if she's fully certified, up to date kind of thing. But anyway, so I just wanted to throw all of that out there.
Ms. Brunzell?
Just a couple of questions. There was a comment made this evening that, I think I heard this correctly, that if we go to DOI, there would be no cap on classroom size. Correct or incorrect?
This plan doesn't address that. DOI does allow that, but that is not in our plan. So we still will have the legal caps on our classes unless we continue to file waivers like we've been doing for the last several years.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. And you also said, I just want to make sure I understood this correct, because I've been inundated with this. It was posted for 30 days for people to make comment, correct?
Yes, it was posted on February the 3rd, and the button on the website was live.
And it was on our website.
It was on our website. We did receive public comment.
And that was publicized, correct? Like people, okay.
It was on the front page of the website, on the right-hand side, there was a button. DOI, do you want to make a comment? And there was a button.
Okay, just double checking on that. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Okay, I don't think we have any more questions right now, but stay nearby because we might, and then we're going to have some discussion just about DOI in general, and then maybe we'll call you back up when we start going through each of the innovations.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Walsh, you had some discussion
Yeah, I
points.
attended the 2 January 2023 meetings of the DSIC just to listen. I was not a participant in the meeting. I was not part of that committee. I have read the DOI law and the Texas Education Code. I have read the Texas Classroom Teachers Association webpage on DOI. I reached out to Dr. Randall personally to hear his thoughts on why LCISD did not pursue DOI when he was the superintendent. And I've had numerous conversations with staff and parents about it all, more than I can actually count. I feel like that from the beginning, this has been rushed. I do not believe that this plan was organically developed by the DSIC. From the beginning, the idea was planted with the DSIC leadership that, by certain administrators, that we want to mimic the DOI plan of Frisco ISD. At the DSIC meetings, I was sitting in the atrium of this building, and it was taking place in this room, and there was an overwhelming sense of why now? Our plan requires lots of trust of the administration out of the hands of the DSIC. And this is what's causing all the angst. While this administration can be trusted, we are a fast-growing ISD with over 5,500 employees, and we're adding more all the time. Innovation number 1, for instance, can be done without being a DOI. The DOI process has caused, among other things, next year's calendar from being adopted last month. It's normally done in February. And this has been a critical window of time for families who are making commitments for the next school year. My opposition tonight is not in the DOI designation itself. It's in the timing and how the DSIC meetings were run and how information was or was not disseminated to the staff by their DSIC member. It's been said that there are safety measures in place for the DOI plan before it could ever be amended. But having listened to how the DSIC meetings went, I know that the desired outcome is pushed by leadership and will be arrived at in some way. And also, we are not known as an independent thinking board. We pretty much rubber stamp everything the administration wants to do. One exception to that would be that this board did not take the official recommendation of the boundary committee of Randall High School and Wright Junior High. And the only reason that happened was because Trustee Danziger and I attended those meetings as individuals, and we just listened. We modified the officially presented map here in the boardroom to represent the public's will of that committee, not the official recommendation. I say let's slow this process down and let's vote no on doing this now, going against the committee vote, but continue the conversations for the future. There's a lot of time before our CTE center is built and up and running, which is one of the main reasons for the first innovation specifically. Thanks.
I have some remarks as well. Before I get into those remarks, I think it's worth noting that it's healthy to have discussion. It's healthy for the exercise of our governance role and for democracy, for us to have a conversation with people at this dais, for us to have that conversation outside of this boardroom, for us to have conversations with teachers and principals and whatnot. I think some might say it is unhealthy if, when we do disagree, for us to then say that we are not independent thinking. I have served on this board for 4 years, and I've gotten to know every single person on this team of 8. And I can tell you that every single person on this board is here because they want to do what's right for kids, they want to do what's right for teachers, and they want to do what's right for the community. Every single person. And from time to time, we'll have votes that aren't 7-0. And that's okay. That's the way it's supposed to work. That's expected. But to say that we're not independent thinking has not been my experience. Like many others, including teachers, parents, and community members, when we started this discussion, District of Innovation was something that I had passing familiarity with, but not something that I had detailed knowledge about. There were some sessions at professional development events that I visited. So like many of my fellow trustees, I read up, I talked with folks both inside and outside the district. I got feedback from teachers and parents and community members. And I knew this would be an important decision, and we've arrived today to vote on it, and so I wanted to get it right. So first, I wanted to share some of the things that I learned about the process that's been going on, initial discussions from this summer, and the initial introduction of this topic to the DSIC was in November. So that was the first step. Step one, early November, was the administration went to the District-Wide Student Improvement Council, the DSIC, to explain what DOI is and what it isn't. And I understand questions were asked and information was shared. And in that meeting, DSIC took a vote about whether to move forward with the process and see if there are any innovations that they would like to present to the board for approval. If at that time DSIC said we don't want to move forward, then the process would stop in its tracks. There's no reason to move forward past that because DSIC's approval is necessary to move forward. The DSIC that evening voted 68% to move forward and explore some possible innovations. So we move on to step two. From there, a public hearing was held in December, and the board had to formally name the DSIC as the body that would be the Local Innovation Committee, the LIC, tasked with exploring possible innovations that would work for our district, and then they would present those to the board if they felt that was best, or they would review the options and they would say, scrap it, we don't want to do it. I, like I'm sure all of my colleagues sitting up here, value the input of our teachers and staff members. So the fact that 73% of the DSIC were teachers meant to me and means to me that this is the committee where I want this process to start. So each of the teachers on the DSIC, as Ms. Ryan explained, is a representative of their campus, and so there's representation from the entire district. And there's a diverse array of experience levels, there's new teachers, there's very experienced teachers, a diversity of grades taught, subjects taught, area of the district, et cetera. So the DSIC also includes parent representatives and business representatives and community members, and these are all extremely important stakeholders that we want to be part of this process and we want to have helping to guide our decisions as a board and as a district. So step three was the DSIC met in January. They had a couple meetings. And to be clear, innovations must originate in the DSIC. They can't originate with this board. So if this board changes, and like Ms. Ryan said, the entire board is swept out and 7 new people are swept in, innovations still need to originate with the DSIC, which is made up vast majority of teachers, and then community members, business representatives, and staff members. So members of the committee brought innovations to the table. The administration brought ideas to the table. They were discussed, and they ultimately voted to present 6 innovations to the Board of Trustees, and as Ms. Ryan explained, 2 of those innovations are no longer allowable per TEA, so we're considering the remaining 4. Step 4 is the plan was posted online for the required period and public comments were received, and then the administration presented the plan to TEA as required by law. As I considered each of the 4 innovations that we have before us today, I heavily weighted the feedback from our teachers on the DSIC. If this did not have their overwhelming approval, I wouldn't have even considered voting for any of these. But the DSIC voted 80%, 73%, 90%, and 82% in favor of these 4 proposals. I also considered all of the comments that were submitted online. I think there was just a little bit over 60 from that 30-day period. Some of those had to do with school time starts, like the actual, like what time are we starting school in the day? And so I think there was some confusion about whether that was related to DOI. And some feedback I received, and it really made me think about certain questions, and gave me some pause, and so I decided I had to investigate and potentially see if maybe we need to tighten up some of the language. I know Ms. Tarici and I had an exchange at the last board meeting about, is this language tight enough to protect teachers? And so some of that feedback I wanted to share. The first is this allows the district to ignore Texas law. This, to me, is misleading because District of Innovation and its requirements are laid out in the law. The legislator created District of Innovation. It's in Texas Education Code 12A. A fair way to say this is that District of Innovation allows districts to assert local control over certain decisions that those communities feel will benefit their students and teachers. There are over 1,000 school districts in Texas. There's over 250 counties in Texas. There can't be a top-down, one-size-fits-all approach to education in Texas. What works in the Panhandle might not work in Lamar CISD and vice versa. This allows local communities to make decisions for what we feel is best for our community. Number two, District of Innovation is bad. Just look at what that district did to their teachers. The District of Innovation framework in the Texas Education Code is not a stamp that means the same thing in every single district. When folks would tell me, look at what that district did, I would go and I would look at it. And what was most concerning to me is that there were stories from some of these ISDs where they did things that I consider crazy, like exempting themselves from all of Chapter 21 of the Texas Education Code, which is what provides protections for our teachers. I think I could speak for the administration. I could speak, I think, for the majority of all of the board. That is something that was never even a consideration or on the table. I would never support something like that. For me, that was a non-negotiable. I think I could say the same for the administration, the rest of the board. We want certified teachers teaching our kids. The only exception would be is if there's a world language or CTE class that is just going without because we can't find any certified teachers. And there are classes like that in Lamar CISD right now, where it's an auto mechanics class and the kids are not getting their certifications because they have a sub who can't do what they need to do in order to get their certifications, and that's hurting those students. It will never be acceptable for elementary grades or special education teachers or core classes at any grade level to be uncertified, period. These innovations should help teachers, not hurt them. It cannot and will not remove teacher planning time, impact teachers' duty-free lunches, or impact teacher contracts, period. It will not reduce teacher compensation, period. It will not alter classroom size caps, period. We have on this board former teachers, myself included. We have parents of LCISD students, myself included. We have spouses of LCISD teachers. The board simply won't allow changes that are going to harm students or teachers. The number 3 feedback that I got was becoming a DOI will make us just like Fort Bend ISD or Houston ISD or Katy ISD or Dallas ISD or you name it. And as I thought more about this one, to me it's like this. If I wake up in the morning and I know Dr. Niven's going to be wearing a red striped tie, and I go to my closet and I put on a red solid tie, and I don't think folks engaging with us throughout the day and having conversations are going to start confusing us for one another. What makes us who we are is more than that tie. What makes Lamar CISD unique is more than these innovations. Number 4, once you're a DOI, and this is the one that I hear the most, and it's given me the most pause when I first heard it. Once you're a DOI, this will open the floodgates And then it's easier to start enacting other unwanted changes. And I spent a lot of time researching this and the process on this one. What I discovered is that the process for amending or adding innovations, and we saw it in the flow chart on the PowerPoint, is essentially the same as the initial process that we're going through right now. To amend or to add, the innovations must be initiated by the DSIC. A majority of the DSIC must vote to approve them, just like it did with this process. Then the board must consider and vote to approve the amendments or additions by 2/3 majority, just like we're doing now. If I felt this opened the door to a whole bunch of changes down the road, I wouldn't vote for any of them. But after reviewing the process, it's simply not the case. And having one innovation and being a DOI doesn't make it any easier to do others. So I'll conclude with this. If any of these innovations are approved, there will be folks who disagree with that decision because they have concerns about either the process or about the substance or one or more of the innovations. That's understandable. That's healthy. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to have a civic dialogue about that. But there may be other folks who go out after this meeting and they don't focus in those conversations on what these 4 innovations are. That's all we're doing is approving 4 things that we feel, that the DSIC feels will help students or will help teachers. But certain folks might go out and just say, we're a DOI now. And they'll attempt to take that amorphous term that a lot of folks might not know what it means and turn it into something that is scary and misinformed and twist the process and say now the floodgates are opened and LCISD is different and pull your kids out of the school. Please give second thought to folks that are going to do that. Look at these 4 innovations and think for yourself, is this truly going to help students? Is this truly going to help teachers? Don't allow that process to get twisted. We're going to have a conversation about each of these 4 innovations, and I'd like us to have that conversation about, is this going to help kids? Is this going to help teachers? I think that's the only thing that truly matters here today. Any other comments?
Can I just, that was amazing. Thank you. Thank you, President Hunt. That was very precise, and the only thing I will add is that this became part of TEA in 2015, what I've been reading about, because they had already allowed a lot of charter schools to do these innovations, and districts went to TEA and said, if you're allowing them, why can't you come up with something for us? And I've watched other districts throughout the Houston area become districts of innovation, and I did question it a few years ago. I've been here a long time, and it was brought to me as, I don't think it's time. Well, I think as we do discussions tonight, we're going to find that for some of these, it's over the time, that some of this should have been talked about years ago. I think the hardest part is that we're making a lot of changes in 1 year. And someone who doesn't like change, I've had to come on board and do my research too. And I think we just have to keep an open mind. And like you just said, where is this going? Who is it going to help? And how does it make the process of educating our students better? Because we're never going to vote up here for something that would make it worse. And being a retired teacher, heavens no, would never vote on something that would hurt the teachers in the schools. So thank you for your comments. I appreciate it, and I hope people listen to it. And that's all I'm going to say.
Before we jump into the things, the 2 words that kept popping in my mouth or in my mind when going through this was local control. And we look at the state of politics, we look at the state of the world, and we look at how the money follows and laws are changed based off of money. And we know that we have people in the state legislature that are not educators. that don't have any ties. That could be, I'm not saying, but I spent spring break reading bills. Before I was in this role, I've never had the thought to go and read bills and propose bills and all that stuff. And I'm looking at some of the things that are being proposed, not just in education, but in all different things. And so if these things become laws, I'm like, that's not safe. I'm looking at a bill right now where the word law enforcement in regard to school safety is struck out. And so if law enforcement is not part of the school safety conversation anymore, as a DOI, this could be potentially one that if TA doesn't say, we're like, no, we need police officers in our schools for safety. If the DSIC says, okay, this is something, so these are right now talking about in the education committee that all these things. So we talk about, we want less big government in making rules and laws for our teachers, for my wife who's a teacher, people that are not educated or skilled or even have any understanding of education, just listening to other people in their head without having the first knowledge. We talk about us not being an independent school district, which it's in our name. This brings local control. This brings the opportunity and the possibility of us saying, like you said, what you were thinking is like, well, I come from Round Rock. What's good for Round Rock is not good for Lamar Consolidated. We're growing extremely fast, and we have the people here, the DSIC and the staff and the admin that live here, and that are neighbors here, that our families are from here, and they know what is best is for our kids, our neighbors, and our communities. So not everything coming from Austin, from the Capitol, after spending deep dive in what even was proposed, is going to be beneficial to our Lamar Consolidated ISD students. Some of them didn't make it up through the committees, but there's a chance that some of them could have. So we look at local control. We look at, okay, we know what is best for our kids because they are my kids. I'm wearing my socks right now for our kids that are Down syndrome kids. I know what is, I don't know, but I know that I know the faces. And I know those personalities, and I know those quirks, and I know those traits. The people in Austin don't know Seth. The people in Austin don't know this board, this administration, the parents, the family, the staff, the admin, our custodial, and our bus drivers. So what kept resonating in my spirit is local control. We talk about how we want local control, how we need local control. I don't want big business in my child's education. And I'm not saying that we would go for that or that Austin will go that way at all. But I'm just saying, if we look at the past 3 years, how a lot of laws and a lot of things were stated because of money. And I'm not saying that's where we're at by no means, but the possibility, I don't know.
Any other comments before we jump into the innovations? Do we need to take a break before we jump into the innovations? I'm getting a nod. We're going to take we'll come back at, it's 8:24, we'll come back at 8:30. All right, it's 8:34 p.m. We're back in open session. We'll move on to discussing each of the innovations. Is there a motion on innovation one?
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Danziger moves to approve innovation one.
Teacher certification of only CTE and foreign language.
Okay, is there a second? Sorry. Ms. Williams seconds. Is there discussion?
I support this. And I support it in the aspect of this is what I've chosen to devote my life to, is I bring high school students into my workshop and teach them the skill. And I've seen and I've worked alongside our school district they get the book work and then they come here and work. I've seen and I've worked with, our district for since we moved here, and I've only been on the board, this is my second year, I've seen how there's been a lacking in availability of employees that are ready to work, I guess, and teach our skills, student skills, the real world, day-to-day life skills. I support, I've talked to a lot of teachers in other districts that have this innovation, that are CTE teachers. And they've told me that this has been the best thing for their students because their students are getting the seasoned diesel mechanics coming in to teach their students. They're getting their the nurses that have had their career in the hospitals, in the ICU, coming and teaching these classes of, you know, this is the real world, this is what it's like. I look at, we talk about, you know, teacher vacancies and why is that? I think we've said around this table a handful of times that just simply people aren't well. And sometimes our teachers are not treated the best. And being married to a teacher, and there's been situations and conversations that I've been in the car while she's talking to a parent, and it's just, teachers are not treated the best right now. I've done car rider lines, and so we talk about there's vacancies, and why aren't we doing anything about it? This is something we're trying to do about it, to fill that void, to fill that gap. There is a very big gap. If we can get more people that are extremely skilled, and of course, like we said, we want certified teachers first. If we get people that are, you know, master electricians, master mechanics, ICU nurses, all this teaching our students and getting our kids better acclimated or get them ready for the workforce and where they can learn the trades and the skills, all that stuff. I have a wood shop where I bring students in and I'm teaching them like, okay, this is how you do this. This is how you do it quick. This is how you do it right. This is how you do it. This is real world education, real world work. And I'm not saying our current teachers are not doing that. They are doing that. But we have very clear vacancies and we are growing faster than we can anticipate. We're growing faster than we can plan. So if we can come in and fill these vacancies with some really good, skilled people, I support it because our kids will be learning from the professionals in their trade. I could go a lot more, but.
Ms. Danziger.
I just want to ask this question. I think I've asked it before, and I think you've answered it. No matter who, if we hire someone without a certification, it does not mean that we won't be working with them to start working towards a certification, that they're not just going to stay here year after year without working towards trying to become a certified teacher. Is that right? Or will they at least have to do some other
We are definitely committed to making sure they have the training that they need, the pedagogy, the lesson support, the, you know, how to deal with parents, all of that. But our experience in some of the CTE, you know, a diesel mechanic.
Right.
Might be ready to start tomorrow, but has no interest in actually pursuing a teaching degree. He may or may not be at the end of his career. You know, he's retired from his day job as a mechanic and wants to work with kids. But if we set the requirement that they have to get their teaching certificate, they may or may not be interested.
But they would still have the training.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that's actually part of that, DSIC was very intentional in putting that in the plan, that they wanted to make sure that the training and support that the district was providing was part of the expectation. So that
And
last line there at the bottom.
The requirements, depending upon what the area of expertise is, would they have to have so many years of expertise in that field to even be considered?
I'll let Casey speak to, Dr. Lazar speak to CTE.
Yes, so what, if this were to pass, what we would do is we would put together some subcommittees specifically for CTE that would talk about the hiring expectations for CTE teachers. And yes, one of that would be years of experience in the field.
And would the board be able to see those
Absolutely.
requirements? Okay.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Ms. Brunzel?
I support this a lot as well. Also, I've got two boys that were in CTE that graduated from Lamar schools, and one of them was in the welding programs, and luckily he had teachers that helped him all the way through, but my other one was in auto mechanics, and he did not. He could only get to a certain point, and then there was no one else that could teach him anything else. So that would have been a huge benefit for him to have someone that could come in and teach something else. And I know my daughter and one of my sons did sign language, and I know that one of the teachers quit. And so they had a sub, I think, for an entire year. And so what she learned was online, which was fine, and she passed and everything, but having an actual teacher in there sure would have helped a lot. So something like this could be a big benefit.
Mr. Hubenak?
So to Mandy's point, my son also graduated this past year, and one of the best welding teachers you could ask for, he had at Foster. But he was a teacher. You know, let's be real about it. A welder, a mechanic, anyone in that trade, they can make twice what a teacher makes. Doing that craft, it takes a special person to be a teacher and to be able to communicate that skill to a classroom full of students. Yes, we may be lucky enough to receive somebody at the end of their career, but I know some excellent mechanics that have no business being teachers. I think it's a stretch. I think we're settling for second best. You know, teaching is truly a calling. Like Zach, I'm married to a teacher. That's someone that eats and breathes being a teacher. During the day, during the night, mind is constantly going, what can I do for these students? I'm in the telecommunications field. I've been doing it 25 plus years. I could probably teach fiber optics, but I'm not a teacher. My mind shuts off when I go home at night. That's the difference between the two. And I think with the struggles that we're having, finding teachers to fill some of these roles, you know, a group possibly like the one we had for this district innovation, to start coming up with different ideas on how to recruit, bring in more teachers. They're not going to come to us, we're going to have to go to them. You know, we may be doing some of that already. I know we've had some discussion in the past about offering different incentives and programs in order to try to attract some additional teachers to our district, and some of that it's kind of seemed to have faded away a little bit. We kind of quit talking about it, but I think for our students' sake, for those, you know, Alex, you mentioned earlier about, you know, in no way, shape, or form are we going to allow this in any of our normal curriculum, base curriculum classes. Some of these kids, mine included, they're looking at it as a career. That's just as important to them as any core curriculum that we may see it being important for them as well. You know, it takes a special person to communicate that. And, you know, like I said, being a teacher and being able to communicate that, some of the, you know, I'm from here, went to school here. Some of the best teachers I had, most influential teachers I had were in these programs. So, yeah, no, I'm not in support of this.
For a teacher to be a teacher, they went to college for their chosen field, whether it's hospitality or finance or whatever. To be a teacher, if they go on one of those fields, then I'm like, oh, now I want to get out of finance, now I want to teach, so I'm going to get online to an alternative certification program, which my wife is alternatively certified. She was an art major, she is an art teacher. The school where she went to, she went and studied art, so she's an expert in her field, but she got alternatively certified. For some people going through that process, it could, I'm not saying, okay, I'm gonna tread very lightly here because we have some amazing alternatively certified teachers. Just because this person A said, I want to now try teaching and go get their alternative certification does not mean they need to be a teacher, because through that alternative certification, there's online coursework. And you mentioned that a lot of these students want to go through this as a career, and if they have a career welder that's now at their end of their career, is like, you know what, I want to see this next crew come up, that person could very well be a teacher. But, you know, for me, like, I do a lot of stuff on principle, and I publicly, and I say it, I don't have a college degree. But I can teach students. I've been in the education field. I've done a lot of stuff, but I'm not a college degree person. We couldn't afford for me to go to college, and then all this kind of stuff. But so for me, with what I do and the way I teach, the way I work, this would be something. I told Nivens, joking with him, I'm like, peace out, school board. I'm gonna go teach students how to build some awesome furniture, and teach them how to make a living and teach them how to go to work. So we talk about entrepreneurship, all this kind of stuff. I can say this broadly, there are people that have paid to go to college or have paid for the alternative certification that probably should not be teachers. And I'm not saying we have any of those in our district. Please understand that. I'm speaking broadly to say that that's a thing. Just like there is probably a diesel mechanic working at our bus barn right now fixing a bus that would be an amazing teacher. And he's a diesel mechanic that's from our district that understands our buses, that understands our stuff, that understands our kids, because he's working on the buses that our kids ride on. So we could potentially be missing out on some amazing skills. And for these ones that want to use it as their career, why not have a professional I've already worked their career? And of course, I mean, I'm not saying we need to forgo certification by no means. That needs to be our number one priority and number one areas to go do that. But for these hard to teach things, I mean, I can go get my alternative certification in CTE and have never welded before, but I can be certified alternatively in welding.
Mr. Welch.
I would just like to counter that and remind the board that the education code already allows us to issue a license to an individual that is valid in our district. And from what I understand, the TEA can overrule that. And if we are DOI, they cannot. That's how I understand it. But it's unlikely, if we're having that much problem finding a French teacher or a diesel mechanic, and Lamar wants that person in the classroom, that the TEA would overrule that.
Is that the process, is that the criteria that the TEA uses to determine?
I do not know that. Dr. Nivens could speak to that, or one of these folks could speak to it.
Mr. Bates just rose, and I think he might know the answer.
Just a little bit. So based on the statement that Mr. Welch is discussing, the TEA does allow for districts to hire in lieu of what we're discussing with DOI tonight. But there's two things that I would want us to make sure we kind of take in consideration. TEA is the final decision maker on that. And when you're talking to CTE, if you're referring to this time of the year, you won't really see a big difference between that and DOI. But when you're talking about after the bill starts, after school starts, there's a time period where the game changes a little bit, which could be a lot of it depending on the person that's actually applying for the position. And the magic number is 21 days. So with CTE, the person, if they chose to actually want to take in a position coming from the actual field, they could be considered a teacher for 21 days until we hear back from TEA. And as Mr. Welch eloquently stated, then yes, TEA could deny that, and now we are back in square one. If you're referring to the other ones that I saw today, which was like there is a foreign language or world languages, they're not considered a teacher. They'll only be considered a substitute teacher until we hear back from TEA after 21 days. So that's kind of the difference where you start hearing about, you know, which is basically district certified instead of TEA certified and kind of DOI. So with the district certification, there's a 21-day period before they become a teacher. On the world language side, there is a 21-day period where they can be teachers. It's not no questions asked. It'll be the same criteria that you kind of heard tonight with DOI as far as the things that we will have to put in place to make sure that they meet the criteria. Years of experience will definitely be one of those things before, CTE can be, the CTE teacher can be in that position, but after that, TA could come back and say, well, that person doesn't meet their criteria, their standard. We don't like you all standard that you're using, and then we're back to square one. And with DOI, it would kind of mitigate all of those things because we're saying, we have this criteria in place. The criteria that, of course, that you all have seen tonight, the things that you all approved, the things that the SIC is kind of put in place, and that gives us the avenue. The one thing I also want to add that may kind of ease a little bit of tension, speaking from the HR standpoint, if DOI is approved, then, of course, that doesn't give us the green light to start recruiting there first. It kind of gives us the green light to recruit there last, if that makes sense. We will still look for certified and bona fide teachers no matter what, because we believe that there's a reason why, there's a thing called teacher certification. But without that, then what that also could do is in the areas of CT and world language, you would have not only not a certified teacher or a person that has the experience in that area, you'll actually have a substitute that doesn't have any of those things in the classroom, which we kind of have now as well. So whether DOI is approved or not, we'll have a plan in place. But if it's approved or not, if it's approved, we won't start there as far as recruiting. But if it's not approved, then we will still do things such as what we have right now, which is kind of your grow your own, where we have paraprofessionals that we're trying to recruit and turn into teachers. So we do have a few things in place, one way or the other. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. So for me, it was incredibly important that in this innovation, we tailored this as narrowly as possible. So that way there was no wiggle room, because it's my understanding that some districts allow this to be a little bit more broad. We wanted to have this narrowly tailored so that it's clear that this only affects CTE teachers and foreign language teachers. I was a teacher. I was certified. I understand the value of certification. I want my kids to be taught by certified teachers. However, in the limited circumstances where we have a choice between somebody who is not certified, but that has that teacher mentality, and that is available to teach our students and do a good job, I would rather have that person in the classroom than either not having that class at all and making so that our students don't have opportunities that other area districts have, or being in a classroom with a substitute teacher sitting on a computer and doing online lessons while they're being supervised by a sub. I want those students to continue to have opportunities, and I'd certainly take the point, every diesel mechanic is not going to be a teacher, but this opens the door for us so that if we can find that person that has that teacher drive and that teacher mentality and that teacher mind, it just opens another door that if we get to that last resort where we just cannot find anybody that is certified, it allows us to open that door so that we can hire that person and present that opportunity to our students. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. No. All right, 5-2, Innovation 1 is passed. We'll move on to innovation number 2. Is there, this has to do with the first day of instruction. Is there a motion to approve innovation number 2?
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Danziger moves. Is there a second?
A second.
Ms. Williams seconds. Discussion.
I'll start. I've looked at the calendar that if we pass this, that has been brought forward by DSIC. And truthfully, I've been here a long time in this district, and we used to start about the middle of August. That was when we started school, we finished, but that was when we weren't counting minutes, we were counting days. And I think it used to be 178 or 180 days, and that has definitely been off the table for a while. But one thing our district always tried to do until the state stepped in and didn't let us do it anymore was get our schools started so that they could finish, so our high school seniors could graduate and go on and do the next level, because a lot of colleges start their summer programs, or some of them were going into the military. And we had problems when we were going into June that some kids were going up to, I know I went to UT and came back to graduate. So this kind of starts tightening this. Now, we haven't had the biggest problem the last few years because we have had the minutes, that we count minutes now. But tonight, when you brought up the point of hiring teachers, it hadn't dawned on me that when you have to have your teachers in place by a certain date, and we're sitting here at the end of the month still needing teachers, they're just not there. And I had not really, I mean, I knew we were having issues, and that's when we started doing more long-term subs this year that we're working towards certification. But I would rather see us be able to get more of those teachers that are ready than starting the year with a lot of long-term subs. And I never realized till tonight how we have kind of handcuffed the hiring of some of our better ones. I know that after the school starts, it's very hard to find good teachers. That's why we do hire a lot of the kids that graduate in December from the colleges. And I've talked to someone who works at HBU, and we've already hired 4 of her teachers, her students. So I know we're out there recruiting. But if we don't recruit fast enough, we did job fair earlier this year, that was good. It got us on the front line. But now, I don't agree with starting school very early in August or even into July. I think people need to ease into it, but I always remember starting teaching about the 15th, 16th, 17th of August. That's the way it used to be until, you're agreeing with me, until the state came in and said, no, everybody has to start at the same time. Well, now they're not saying we all have to start at the same time, so they changed the playing field. And now we're not being able to get what we need. So we need to tweak it. And I don't see a problem with this. It still has your, the days, the holidays. It has a little bit of a downtime in October. So I see that the calendar going by, in changing our first day of instruction is not going to hurt us, but help us. And again, I had my eyes open tonight, and I've been around for a long time. Thank you.
I'm going to echo some of those same sentiments in that I think for folks that are not in education, not in public education, it's a bit of a difficult concept because it's laid out in the Texas Education Code. But I'm going to try to lay it out for folks. Up to 45 days prior to the start of the school year, an LCISD teacher can resign and go to another school district. Essentially, after that, they are locked in to continue to work in LCISD that year. But because we start later than other area school districts, teachers can resign from LCISD later in the summer, but then teachers at other area school districts are already locked into their districts. So there's no pool of applicants to replace the teachers that may have resigned from LCISD. And when I consider that, we're at a disadvantage in recruiting, and it's because we're playing by a completely different playbook than all of the other area school districts. They have the advantage, and this will help us level the playing field. And I think it's especially important considering that over the next 10 years, we're going to be hiring a lot of teachers, and we can't be playing by a different playbook than all of the other competitors, the other school districts in our area. We have to be on a level playing field. Other comments? All right, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of innovation number 2 regarding the first day of instruction, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. 5-2, innovation 2 is passed. Move on to innovation number 3. Is there a motion to approve innovation number 3?
I'll approve it. I'll make the motion.
Ms. Williams moves. Is there a second? Ms. Brunzell seconds. Is there discussion?
I'll jump in. Only because I've done a lot of these videos over the years, and we still have to do them as board. And some of them take hours, and we're taking little tests, and we don't get paid. So I guess my main question is, this doesn't negate the ones that are new coming to the district. Whether they're a new teacher or just new to the district, they would still have to be required for all.
That's correct. So everybody that's new to the profession or new to the district, because we can't guarantee they had it in another district, is required to do all, and they actually even have more. So there are some things that are required just for new, in addition to what is on the legal list for all.
And the list that is still required every year, and I know, you turn them on in your classroom, and then you're working in your classroom, and you're half listening. Been there, done that. But some of these are very important, so you do want to make sure. And I think I really liked when you said, but it can be tailored for a school by the school nurse.
Right, so our subcommittee, Ms. Ryan mentioned earlier, our subcommittee talked about all of the required trainings, and really it boiled down to not getting rid of much, but shifting and changing. And so making sure that this content is relevant, content is current. So we joke about bloodborne pathogens. We've all watched bloodborne pathogens a number of times. We feel like it would be bloodborne pathogens, AED, and seizures, Sarah mentioned earlier. Our nurse doing a training, I've sat through the AED training every year for the last however many years, but I don't know where the AED is on every campus. And do all of our teachers know where the AED is on their campus? And so making sure that we're working with the teams that are responsible, our counselors, our safety and security team, to make sure that the training we're providing, whether it's Vector, whether it's Cognito, or whether it's a face-to-face session, is what's most appropriate for the seriousness of the topic and the processing of the information. Because as Ms. Ryan mentioned, this is a time of year where teachers have a lot to focus on. And so how do we meet the letter of the law, but also make sure that we're meeting the need of the teachers and the need of the students, so that it's not just a checkbox, as Sarah mentioned earlier.
And I hear you that, especially around this time of year, teachers have a lot, and if there's anything that we can do to lighten the burden for our teachers, I think that we should do that. One additional fail-safe, additional check on this is that every year, the staff development plan comes to the school board. I think that it's in August that we get it. So every year, DSIC is going to be reviewing this innovation, but also every year, and this is not new because of District of Innovation, this is every year that I've been on the board and before that, we review as a board and we approve the staff development plan. So, this is the one that I mentioned earlier. This got 90%. So I think that shows teachers could use teachers could use the relief. Any further discussion? All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All those opposed, raise your hand and say no. Innovation 3 passes 4-3. Oh, that's right, you're right. It has to be 5-2. We need 2/3 majority, so innovation number 3 fails. Moving on to innovation number 4. Is there a motion to approve innovation number 4?
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Danziger moves. Ms. Williams seconds. Discussion. So just to boil this one down, essentially, our framework for discipline on campuses is that we have assistant principals. They each handle a segment of the population, but the law provides that there can only be one campus behavior coordinator that, I guess, does the paperwork and does everything that's related to behavior and discipline on a campus. This would allow us to divide that campus behavior coordinator role among all of the assistant principals so they can handle their each individual segments. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed, raise your hand and say no. Okay, innovation number 4 passes 5-2. All right, Dr. Nivens, we'll move on to 9C.
All right, trustees, we have Ms. Cole Hamilton to come up to discuss the academic calendar for 23-24 and 24-25 calendars.
Okay. Okay, good evening. So Board of Trustees, just to quickly review the process that we implemented to develop the calendar. It was a 3-step process. We started with development, with the Department of Learning drafting their potential options that align with instructional goals, priorities, and needs. We had to ensure that all options were compliant with state requirements. And then we did engage various department leaders, HR, athletics, fine arts, operations, student services, area superintendents reviewed and were part of the development process. Then we went to the feedback process. The district-wide Student Improvement Council, principals, assistant principals, central office leaders all provided feedback, and then parents, staff, and students and community members also had the opportunity to provide feedback. And then we went into the refinement phase. We took the feedback and we made a few tweaks along the way. Before you right now is the survey data from the last year's survey participation. You'll see that we had about 4,300 total response in the parent category, over 2,000 for staff, and 103 for students. And this year, we blew those numbers out of the water. You know that we are making a big decision that will impact our system for at least 2 years. So we are confident that we had a broad representation of feedback to support such an impactful decision. So survey respondents had a chance to consider what type of impact each of the options would have on their family. The top bar represents parents, the middle bar is staff, and the bottom bar is students. The green represents a positive impact, the gray is neutral, and the golds are negative impacts. And you'll see that for option A, we saw more negative and neutral sentiments. For option B, we saw far more positive sentiments. And then for option C, we saw far more negative sentiments. On this chart, you'll see the calendar preferences among the 3 stakeholder groups, again, parents, staff, and then students. Green means they prefer option A, blue means they prefer option B, gold means they prefer option C, and red means they have no preference. Again, you'll see the overwhelming majority winner would be blue, which is option B, and therefore, after consideration of information from administration and feedback from DSIC, principals, staff, students, parents, we are going to recommend that the board approves calendar option B this evening. Just a quick overview, the first day of school would be Monday, August 14th, and we would end May 23rd. This would result in 173 instructional days. The current calendar does have 171, but as you know, we no longer built in bad weather days. And so if you look at the calendar, it's not that we have additional 2 whole days. Oh, actually, I'll show you here. The difference comes in 4 half days. So right now, we have 169 full days and 2 half days. And so those 4 half days bring us up to 173. And you'll see those half days fall at the end of breaks. November, December, we've got the last day of school and one right before spring break. Any questions?
Mr. Howard, 2 of the 3 options, DOI.
What's your question?
Well, 2 of the,
Yes,
2 of
sir.
the options require DOI.
Options A and option B.
So we surveyed those out with none of that being passed yet as 2 of the options. And then option C only had 1 week for Christmas.
Like the difference between the calendars? Is that what you're-
Well, I'm just saying the only option that wasn't DOI was the one that didn't, that only had 1 week for Christmas break.
Option C mirrors what we have now.
1 week for Christmas break?
No, we don't just have 1 week for Christmas.
Okay. I just found it interesting that 2 of the options that we put out there was something that we couldn't even been, we surveyed it out to people as one of the options when it really wasn't an
couldn't
option
implement
yet
without
unless
it being
DOI
approved.
passed, which, as we know, it did, so.
Alex,
Mr. Welch.
can you go back to the slide that shows the calendar? And this is where, no, there you go, right there. This is where a lot of the confusion comes in, and I heard from countless parents that took the survey. And where on here does it say that this can only happen if we're a DOI? I mean, I see it.
Right.
But it is in small type, and it is not highlighted. And I can't tell you how many parents contacted me saying, I already voted in the survey, but I didn't realize that A or B had to be a DOI. I don't want to be a DOI, and I would have voted for C had I known that. So now that we are officially a DOI, these kind of things that go out to the public, I want the public to know that the board has nothing to do with these surveys. We don't approve it, we don't look at it. I would encourage the administration to highlight something like that. That is a major aspect of this option, and it was not very well noted for the public.
I appreciate that feedback. I will let you know that it was as a result of feedback directly from the DSIC that we added that notation. Trustees, as you're aware, we do a calendar survey every year. This year, we included a school hours option. So the survey was really for school hours calendar. It wasn't a DOI survey at all. That was a whole other process. But when taking this calendar through the DSIC, they noted, hey, we've got to make sure that people know that these calendar options require board approval. And so it was one of the teachers who suggested we even added a footnote because it originally didn't exist at all. And so we did add that footnote to the calendar. We also added it to the survey itself to let them know that these two options would require board approval and we would need to be DOI. But I hear you saying that you think it should have been larger or highlighted.
I just think it should be larger, highlighted, arrows pointing to it, saying, this can only happen if we make this next major change first.
That's fair.
Because I'm not sure exactly how parents looked at this, but most of them that I heard from just looked at the dates, the start date, the end date, when Christmas is, and yes, I like that one.
Certainly. And when I heard a lot of the feedback from parents, either through public comments or through direct email, it seemed as if they were confusing the academic calendar survey with being a DOI survey, and it never was. And I think that also was initial confusion, just implementing different changes at the same time. I think our parents were confused about what they were agreeing to when they were providing feedback.
Thank you.
Is there anything the administration did differently there was a pretty dramatic increase in the number of responses. Is there anything the administration did differently between last year and this year?
Certainly, and some of that was at the recommendation of this Board of Trustees. You know, we did the backpack flyers. That's not something we've done in the past. We continually did push outs. It's not uncommon for our campus leaders to assist us with sending out information through their district newsletters, but we were really mindful about ensuring that they were frequently sending out information. And in addition, communications, we just sent it out probably at higher frequency than last year.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Are there any motions? Okay. It's been a long night. All right.
That we accept calendar B recommended by DSIC.
We didn't do a motion.
Okay, we did, okay. Okay.
Okay.
We're just so tired. Okay, I'll make the motion that we accept the instructional calendar presented to us by DSIC, which is calendar B option.
Okay. Is there a second? Ms. Williams seconds. Any discussion?
I'll say this, just like the start times that we voted on last month, I think the survey was a little confusing for the public. I don't think that we've got really accurate results. If you just look at the results, the B is the overwhelming choice. All the feedback, not all, the majority of the feedback I received, those folks would not have voted for B had they known that. So I think it's a little skewed, so I have a hard time supporting B because of that.
Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of calendar option B, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I'm going to actually abstain on this one.
Okay. Mr. Welch abstains. So 6-0 with one abstaining. It is adopted. All right. Back to you, Dr. Nivens.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now we have Mr. Buchanan to talk about bond projects update.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Nivens. Tonight we will bring forth a discussion about our current bond projects. Bear with me, this is a little longer than it has been because we've changed up our pattern of what we're doing. So right now what we're going to do is go back to August of 22 and tell you about all the projects that we've completed from August of 22 until the current date. And then what we'll do is every 30 days, we'll update this at every board meeting. So we've completed Ag Barn 3, Phelan Elementary ALC. We've completed the Beasley, Bowie, and Huggins security updates. Also, we put on these for easier track for the board is what color tracks these projects are in. We also completed the roofing at Campbell and Dickinson, Jackson, and then at Williams, we did the renovations and also the parent loop, and then Lamar High School tennis courts replacements. We're also adding our technology projects that have been on the bond. We've increased our capacity for our wireless access points at all our campuses. We've also installed firewall upgrades with a primary and a backup firewall. And then we've completed the Ag Barn infrastructure and security. We've put out 450 student laptops have been replaced at those campuses. At our high schools, we issued 137 staff laptops, and then we did 181 iPads that we've sent out and deployed. We also, as those iPads have come out of service, we were able to sell those to a vendor and recoup $301,647 in that process. We've completed the interactive panel refresh at Lindsay and at Campbell, and then the technology equipment moves. Most of these are due to the renovations that we've done at our security vestibules and at our campuses. So the next section we'll have for the board is we'll have all active projects that are currently under construction. We have Terrell Elementary School, that's in Candela that we discussed earlier about Roberts moving in there temporarily. It is on track to open in the fall of '24. Gray Elementary, it will be opening in the fall of '24, and it is on schedule. We've had the construction of Willie Melton Elementary School in Jordan Ranch. Some of these pictures are just to let the board know there's an airport close to that, so we have to get authorization to be able to fly our drone to take pictures on that. So we're very limited in when we can fly and with the weather. But it is on track to open in the fall of '24. Viola Randall Elementary is under construction. It is scheduled to open in the fall of '24. And then Steenbergen Middle School, which is on the Randall and Wright, you can see that they're already got the piers dug and they're doing the grade beams on that site, and it will open in the fall of '24. Austin Security Vestibule is wrapping up. Right now, we're in the punch list phase of that. And then George Junior High School, the roof, will be wrapping up in the next week or so. At Navarro Middle School, we're doing security upgrades. This is them pouring a temporary sidewalk because we've had to relocate that office to a different area of the building. So this is pouring a temporary sidewalk for them to be able to access the new front entrance. And we've started security vestibule at Taylor Ray. They're pouring and adding concrete there as well. Terry High School, we've started the roof replacement of that campus, and it is underway. And then at Lehman Junior High School, that is the orchestra room addition. They've already started the grade select field, backfilling that, as well as the piers on that. We've placed the order for 8 new buses, and they have came in. So we have 8 new buses that we're pulling older buses off the fleet and putting our new fleet in, which is more fuel efficient. And then these are the projects that currently have for our bond 2020 inflation that was part of the 22 bond. What we'll do is we'll add a page on these as these complete. We'll have a page of completed projects with the inflation and then the current projects that are active. But all of these are currently active as we speak. Our technology, we have redundant fiber connections at all our campuses. If you just think when you go into Waze, you put in directions for a location and it runs 2 different ways, paths to get there. We have 2 separate paths in case one gets cut for some reason during construction. We have a redundant path for that. And then our phase 1 camera upgrades. What this is taking our current camera standards that we have at our new buildings and applying them to our older facilities. So we're upgrading and adding cameras on that. And then we're working with our police officers on our campuses for any dead spots that we may have as we integrate those as well. We are doing a phone refresh for all our classrooms and offices. Our elementary school locations are being upgraded to our Cat 5 cable, which is the next generation of cable. Some of them have Cat 4 and Cat 5 in it. And then our open options software is an upgrade for our access control. So it helps us build that platform up and keep it running. And then we went from Comcast SIP migration to Windstream, and it's a more efficient and cost-effective way for us to be able to address that along with Active Directory. So we also have 817 student laptops that we've upgraded at those campuses. We've done a projector replacement at Wertheimer Middle School cafeteria, and then we've started the flat panel replacements at the following campuses. So taking those interactive panels and putting new panels in at those. So the next section that we'll have for the board is our upcoming projects that will begin within the next 30 days that you should see activity on. We have the Wessendorf Foundation repairs and renovations, the Foster Orchestra Room additions, new roof PA system. Foster Well, we're looking at replacing that. And then Briscoe Junior High, we have an orchestra room, new roof and PA system. Wertheimer is getting a new roof. We have some new buses that we expect to be coming in that we've ordered. And then Seguin security vestibule and the kitchen remodel. As far as our technology projects, we're looking at replacing 305 desktop computers, 350 iPads, our access control refresh. They have 300 current access controls, being able to start replacing those and upgrading those as well. And then our UPS power monitoring, what that is we have battery backups on our network. This software allows us to let us know when those batteries are failing before the power goes out and it doesn't power up, and that's how we realize. So this is a monitoring software that we'll be able to implement. And then our new security camera monitoring alert portal is the same thing for our camera systems. It's a software that monitors it. If we lose signal within a camera, it alerts us instead of going to a camera and realizing that it doesn't have any coverage. And then our new phone provisions, back-end automations, and then our vestibule project phase 2 and our phase 2 camera upgrade projects. So our network, MDF and IDF restructure, so we're refreshing the switches inside these closets, and they are listed there. We're working on getting all those in. And then just want to let the board know that we do have a dashboard for our 22 bond of where those projects are, and it's a live dashboard that we update every month, depending on how that project is and what phases those projects are entering and leaving.
Where is that dashboard located?
If you go to our website, it's underneath bond. It's a main button on the website that has bond dashboard. And when you click on it, it takes you to this page. And again, this is a live page. It lets you know if it's in design or construction, and we're putting that information in as those projects progress. Yes, ma'am. I think it's in the 3-layer. It's right there. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Buchanan.
Thanks, sir.
There are no future action items tonight. Are there any items on the future consent items agenda the trustees would like to pull for discussion at the April board meeting? All right, very good. It is 9:24 PM. We're adjourning to closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.082, the Open Meetings Act, to discuss personnel, land acquisition, or consultation with our attorney. It's 10:38. We are back in open session. We have a quorum. Are there any motions to be made?
Mr. President, I move that Lamar Consolidated Independent School District adopt the resolution authorizing the use of its power of eminent domain to acquire the fee simple title in approximately 253 acres of land located on 359 in Fort Bend County, Texas, for future public school buildings.
Would you like to read the resolution?
All right. Whereas the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District, the district acting by and through its Board of Trustees, has determined that it has a public necessity to acquire through the eminent domain process, if necessary, certain real property for public school use. Whereas Texas Education Code Section 11.155 authorizes a school district to exercise the right of eminent domain to acquire the fee simple title to real property on which to construct school buildings or for any other public uses necessary for the district. Whereas the district acting by and through the Board of Trustees has determined that there is public necessity for the acquisition of approximately 253 acres of real property on FM 359 in Fort Bend County, Texas, the subject property for future public school buildings. Whereas the subject property is depicted and described in Exhibit A attached hereto and is currently owned by Century Land Holdings of Texas LLC, the owner. Whereas the administration has attempted to negotiate with the owner and is engaged in the bona fide offer process required by Chapter 21 of the Texas Property Code, and whereas in the event the attempted negotiations fail, acquisition of the subject property by eminent domain will be necessary. Therefore, be it resolved that Section 1, the Board of Trustees finds and concludes that it has public necessity to use the eminent domain process to acquire the fee simple title to the subject property described and depicted in Exhibit A for public school uses, and Section 2, the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the use of its power of eminent domain to acquire fee simple title to the subject property. In the event negotiations are not successful for the purpose of constructing school buildings, and hereby authorizes the administration to initiate and pursue eminent domain proceedings against the owner identified herein and all other interested and necessary parties, adopted and executed this 21st day of March, 2023.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Lambert seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
I'm going to abstain again on this.
Okay. All right. 6-0 with one abstention. It's adopted. Are there any other motions?
I have a motion. Mr. President, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the renewal and/or extension of the administrative and/or professional contracts as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Welch seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion's adopted. Any other motions?
I move to approve the superintendent's evaluation as discussed in closed session.
Is there a second? Ms. Williams seconds. Discussion. Dr. Nivens, I'll say you have my support. I believe that you've been leading the district with integrity and purpose and intention, and always doing what you feel is best for our students and for our teachers and for the community. So keep it up. Appreciate the work you're doing. Mr. Welch.
I'd like to say that I don't always agree with Dr. Nivens, but I have no regrets that he's our superintendent. And he and I have a good one-on-one relationship, and it's never personal. And a lot of people who like some of the things that I say and vote for, who do not like Dr. Nivens, do not like the fact that I like Dr. Nivens. And I personally do. And like I said, I have no regrets that you're our superintendent, so.
Any other discussion? Ms. Danziger.
I just feel comfortable when I go home and I know the person at the top is doing the very best for our district. I don't know how well he sleeps at night, but I'm doing okay. So thank you, and I appreciate all that you've brought to our district. I know we've made a lot of changes, but change is inevitable, and we all have to try to get used to it. And you must have really thick skin because you just let some of those comments and you keep doing what you need to do, and I appreciate that you don't lose focus with all the noise.
Ms. Williams.
I just want to say I feel very, very thankful and grateful, as your word from before, blessed, all the above, to have Dr. Nivens at the helm. Getting to know his heart and his love for people, especially our students. I'm very thankful that we were able to bring you on and to be part of that decision, and it's proved to be a fantastic one. So thank you for all you do. Thank you for communicating with us, making sure that we are a team of 8 and that we're always in the know and that we're always able to have candid conversations with you. And I know everybody benefits from that, so thank you.
I appreciate your heart for students, for kids, decisions you make are based around what is best for kids in our district and families in our district. So thank you so much.
You're doing a great job. It's an honor to work with you. Thank you, sir.
All right. If there's no further discussion, call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion's adopted. Sure.
I just want to say thank you, board, for your vote of confidence. It that's the one thing that keeps any superintendent up at night, is to make sure they have the confidence of their trustees. So I appreciate that. And but I also would be remiss if I didn't say the folks that are still here right now, looking at me, are the ones that are in the grind every single day. And I appreciate you guys because all those comments, are really uplifting and really does my heart well. But also I need you to share that because we can't do this alone. And, I got the world's best assistant in Barbara, who tells me when to sit down and shut up when she needs to. And, who takes care of me. So I appreciate you guys. Like I said, I'm grateful. I appreciate my team, and I definitely appreciate this school board for the vote of confidence and continuing to allow us to do the work and supporting it. Thank you very much.
Sorry, can I say one more thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Not only from what we said, but for the public's sake, we had a whole evaluation, and it's based on criteria, and we gave Dr. Nivens goals to achieve. And so we have a whole long list of all the things that him and his team have achieved. And so it's not just based off what we talked about tonight, but there's factual data to back it all up and how good of a job him and his team are doing. So I just wanted we get to see all that, and we went through it all, and we evaluated it. And so y'all don't get to see that piece of it because he's our employee. But I just wanted to throw that out there in case anybody was curious.
That's good.
Any other motions to be made? Are there any future agenda items the board would like to add?
If the board is okay, I would like to ask, I'm going to ask Ms. Vincent to come next month to talk about our Grow Your Own programs, all the things we're doing internally we just had, I think 17 folks graduate in December with their bachelor's degree internally. We're starting a doctorate cohort internally, and so I'm going to ask Ms. Vincent to come and talk to the trustees about all the things that we're doing to recruit and grow our own inside the district.
All right, are there any upcoming meetings or events?
Ask her. Barbara. Do we have any other?
Yeah, there's some, next month, there's some campus anniversaries and birthdays.
Lots going on. We don't expect you to rattle off everything that's happening in the next month. All right.
I
Any-
just want to, and I think Barbara's going to send this out on Friday, but the Gulf Coast Area Association has their spring workshop, April 12th. It's going to be at the Berry Center because they're remodeling Region 4. And it is, there's registration. It doesn't cost us anything, but you do need to register because we're going to get a catch up on the 88 legislature. And there will also be a chance to either get some legal updates. So if you're interested and you get credit, you want to go online and register for them.
Anything further? It is 10:50 PM. Meeting is adjourned.